reason the reason that I never bring open top mugs when I'm drinking out of this is if one of my cats comes by, they'll be like, "Ooh, free water," and try and lick out of it.
Oh, that's funny.
Mm. Yeah, so that's why I usually have like a water bottle, but I was just washing it, and
And on that,
I managed to start on something random.
yeah, exactly. And I was like, and on that note, welcome
Yeah,
to another Frenzy Freestyle Sunday.
yeah, yeah. Um, and I guess eventually we're going to be talking about more legacy stuff.
Yes, Bill last week had mentioned an image that we found, which is courtesy of another Facebook group,
Ooh, yeah, yeah,
Transformers fans, and they had all the legacy codes
yeah.
for Target.
Yeah, yeah, which would be useful for like locating things. This doesn't help us Canadians because we don't have a target up here, but um, for Americans, it can help things out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, though I will say, if you're in Canada, GameStop's website is going to drop them all on June 1st. So, like, if you can wait until then, you can just probably just click them online that day.
Nice.
I mean, you can probably find them before then, but like that's their drop date for those. If you, especially if you got pre-orders.
Okay.
Yeah, just the first wave though, which is what's up there. So
Right. Although when I saw this image, I'm like, here's a couple characters in there that weren't mentioned in any of the discussions or any groups that I've seen, like Kickback being one of them.
yeah, well, I yeah, it's interesting because kickbacks just like they're just because they did all three Insecticons in the Prime Wars trilogy a few years ago in like the little core scale. I have them over on my shelf over there, right?
Oh, okay.
And now they're redoing them at a deluxe scale, I guess, because it scales better with the main line. Like, yeah, let me go grab the previous one. I got all three over here, but this is the last kickback they did. It's just a little smaller than that guy because this is a core, so he's about the size of those guys.
Okay.
Yeah, like that's one. Like I don't plan on grabbing these new ones because I'm like these three. I got the other two over there. They're pretty nice as is. So
Right.
I don't think I'll update them. But if you don't have them, they're kind of hard to get now. So get a new one, right?
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Are there any other ones there you didn't see mentioned in groups?
Let's see. Skids. I don't recall Skids being mentioned.
Funny thing is, outside of Laser Prime, he's the one from this I want the most.
Wow.
To put him on my Lost Light shelf that's always behind me, because
Uh,
he's a he's a member of the Lost Light crew in the More Than Meets the Eye comic, but I don't have a Skids yet. He's the only guy I'm missing, so I'm going to stick him right back there.
okay.
Yeah,
Anyone watching who has access to Skids or
yeah,
know of a location where to find them, please let us
hmm
know.
yeah, yeah. Um, Yeah, and also I hear he's just a pretty good Generation One update because the last Skids they did was like kind of a different design, but this is like accurate to all 2 seconds of his cartoon screen time.
Okay.
And hey, I've been reading the Marvel comics in that reading group, so I'm very familiar with his Marvel adventures. Which, aside from that one issue that he starred in, he was actually there for quite a while doing a bunch of stuff, just like being a member of the main cast.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just unfortunate between like there's certain characters that people really appreciate, and
hmm
somehow for some reason like they just ended up being sidelined and and barely got any got any lines. So then people are like, who is this character? I'm like, this character was always there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like, and if you read Lost Light, and More Than Meets the Eye, he was a main character in that, like in the 2010s. So there's a
Okay.
whole but though part of the highlight of the comic was they specifically picked like C and D list characters to make it part of the cast. So
Right.
he sort of became an A-lister because he was in that series for a long time.
Nice.
His whole and they sort of played on the fact that he had amnesia, so he didn't know who he was either, and he discovered that he was like a hyper learner, so he could pick up new skills like really fast. And one of the many things going in that comic was trying to figure out where he'd come from and what his story was.
That's a cool way to write in to write that character in,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
write him in.
it was a little meta about him kind of being a nobody on the show previously, so I kind of liked that.
Hmm. And I see one other character I don't recall being mentioned. Silver Streak.
Oh yeah, that's because he's over in Buzzworthy Bumblebee. Um, but apparently, like they, they said during that big designer roundtable we talked about last week that
Yes.
on the production side they consider these Buzzworthy guys to be part of Legacy. They're just shifting them over there.
Okay.
Um, so that's Diaclone Blue Streak, the figure that was on all the Transformers packages but wasn't actually released back in G1, right?
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So they just took the Earthrise one and gave him a blue repaint and stuck him over in Legacy. He's out in Canada. He's a Toys R Us exclusive over here. I've seen him on shelves. It's just Toys R Us did a price hike on all their deluxes, so I kind of didn't feel like biting the bullet just yet.
Okay, I hear that.
Yeah, good looking in person though. Like it's a good shade of blue and silver, and
Nice.
they're having a bit of a joke with his name because they used to have to call him Silver Streak for a while because they didn't have the copyright to Blue Streak.
Right.
They got it back, so the one that got released in Earthrise which is silver, is called Blue Streak, and now the blue one getting released now is called Silver Streak. Like they
That's
did that on purpose as like kind of a joke.
Yeah, that is funny.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. This is
I was gonna say just the other day, when I passed through Walmart, like I always not in most recent times, I pass by the Transformers aisle just to see what's there, and I'm thinking of starting a new contest that I'll mention a bit later. Um,
ooh.
because looking at the aisle, I was just like,
Mhm,
why does it's almost like either if someone is coming in and purposely ransacking that section, or the
mhm.
staff is doing it. Like we don't care about these toys because we have no idea what they are. Just throw stuff on the shelf and walk away. Like
Yeah.
it always looks like a disaster.
I was gonna say, like, not all WalMarts are built equally, and I don't go, I don't hit multiple places these days like I used to. But like, I've definitely gone to one place that was immaculate and another place that was ransacked, and
Mhm.
it varies.
That's true. I guess. I mean, between the few that I've been through, like some are better kept than others. But you can tell it still has that ability to just go left at any moment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's probably because it's not their specialty. Like how Toys R Us is always like really pristine because that's what they do. That's all they do.
Right, exactly. Well, let's go through some of the news for this week.
Hmm.
And
Oh, nice, nice. I haven't heard of this yet. Because if something drops like over the weekend, I never hear about it till we're on the show because I'm not really online on weekends. I've said that before.
right, yeah, and
Yeah,
just dropped today.
yeah. That's an interesting package because that is very old promo art of Bumblebee from the Bumblebee movie. Like that's the like non-final concept art that they all used in a lot of early merchandise.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But they're calling it from Bumblebee. Wonder why they think it's Rise of the Beasts. They're putting out a lot of stuff that's obviously from that movie, but they're not calling it that because of the delay.
Right. All right. Let's oops, jump to some more news.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Evan Brooks. That's the name of the designer. If you watch the live stream, he's the guy with the beard who always is like bizarrely chill. People used to joke that he would smoke up before the stream started because of how relaxed how relaxed and slow he was.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah. So because he's one of the main designers and he talks on and he's the guy sharing the stuff on Instagram.
Okay, that's very cool.
Yeah, yeah. And I've liked these posts because you get to see like the design process. He shared something that I thought was really interesting about Hot Rod because Hot Rod was pink in the movie but red in most other things, and the Studio
Right.
Series figure is red. And Mark said in the Instagram post about Hot Rod that they wanted to make him pink, and the higher ups were the ones that said no. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, because I remember seeing him in the Marvel comics,
Yeah.
and always wondering why he had a different shade than the toy and the cartoon.
Yeah, well, apparently that's what the toy was originally going to be. We've seen like photos of it in like promo catalogs and stuff. Even back in the day, they shifted it to red before it came out. But in the movie and comics, it happened late enough that they still had the pink color scheme there.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey. My young nephew's not quite old enough yet, but like this is right up in his alley. And I love that they're doing. Yeah, I saw pictures of these. They're doing Optimus Primal and they're doing Grimlock, and these are like really good, like little kids versions of them.
Very cool.
Yeah, because I've said these are, like I said, I gave those dinosaurs to Jess's nephew there, and they're pretty solid for what they are. They're just like little one step changers that are like really nicely built, and you just press like one thing to transform them. Like they're really fun for like little kids things.
Nice. No, that's very cool because I mean that's how you get a new generation into the toy line, but
Yeah.
also that element of putting the quality into it that the
Hmm.
little children can play with it for hours, and and there isn't that fear of it breaking, or
Yeah.
or I mean if it does break, it's not it's not like a masterpiece priceless that you can easily just replace it.
Yeah, but I don't think these are gonna break. They're built like bricks. They're supposed to be like thrown around. So
Nice, very
yeah,
cool.
yeah, they're not very big either. They're like about the size of these little core guys, but 1,000 times more durable. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah, they just have a. Oh yeah, yeah, a leak. Studio series Sideways. A lot of people think he's mistransformed in this picture because of how weirdly hench he looks. It's probably what's going on, right? Yeah, I'm sure you can actually extend his torso or whatever. It's just
Yeah,
somebody grabbed him, took a picture.
that does look extremely funny.
Yeah, it's going to be real interesting to see what he changes into because during Revenge of the Fallen back in the day, his was
Hmm.
one of the few toys they didn't have the merchandise license for, so he changed into an Audi in the movie, but the figure had to just make him into a made up car.
Interesting. I never realized that because I believe I have that character, and I never looked into it to realize it's not an actual model car.
Yeah, like like most of the movie figures, like when they got the licenses, they got the license to make the figures too.
Right.
Um, but like his was one of the very tiny exceptions. Uh, the only other case I can think of is Dino from Dark of the Moon. They didn't have the rights to the Ferrari car, so like even his current Studio Series figure just changes into like a nondescript red car.
Okay.
But yeah, but it's like it's interesting because it also kind of doesn't matter too much because like most people probably aren't even going to notice, and especially when it's like somebody like Sideways who was like on screen for like 30 seconds. It's like
Right.
does it matter? There is a silver car.
And I mean, you also get it into that case if someone's buying it just to have it in robot mode on the shelf, or unless they're getting two copies of that character.
Yeah.
But yeah, like in robot mode, you almost forget of what the vehicle or the alt mode would have been to begin with.
Yeah, it's also the fact that this guy's coming out. It's really interesting how far they've gone down the checklist of movie guys in this line. Right, we're at like the guy who was in the movie for 30 seconds at the start and immediately died in terms of like importance.
Well, actually, I was just gonna throw that to you, because sometimes like when you're on YouTube and it's like you start seeing like all the suggestions on the side, and there's that one scene from one of the movies where Megatron is requesting some of his locked up team to be released.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
were those characters ever brought into the toy line? Considering
Mm,
like they own, like, those characters only had like a minute line in the movie.
Surprisingly, no. Nitro Zeus, the guy who looks kind of like Shockwave, they did do him, but none of the others got figures. So people think that those are going to be obvious studio series candidates in the future. And Oscar
Got it.
Reyna the third on Facebook has a question. Shoot. While you shoot, I'll keep talking. But yeah, Studio Series is pretty close to hitting 100 in terms of its numbers. Because you know how each figure is numbered, right?
Right.
Like the Ratchet that I have here is 82, and then 86 is being reserved for all the Transformers the movie vintage guys.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so this guy will probably be number 87. So they're going to get really close to hitting 100 in like the Studio Series numbers.
Well, speaking of,
Yeah. 8614 Junk Heap. Yeah. The guys from the 86 movie don't have like a standard number. They're all 86 plus a dash. Because 1986 is when it came out.
right.
So there's actually probably been 100 already. It's just that like 14 or so of them are just numbered that way instead.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, Oscar Reyna the Third says, are they making all three Insecticons in Legacy? To answer your question, they have not said that they're making the other two. They haven't shown them, but we only know about 2 waves of the line so far, and the designers have basically made it clear in the several times now that if they do like a subgroup of characters, they try to finish them. So I think it's safe to assume that they're coming sooner or later. Yeah. So they haven't announced them, but like there's 90% chance that it's going to happen.
Cool.
Yeah, Toy Warp Vintage Reviews on YouTube says that scene. It's so weird that they did a whole Suicide Squad segment in the middle of the movie. Yeah, well, that was kind of the last night in a nutshell. They just kept introducing ideas, and then they give all those figures, they give all those characters like big introductions, and then most of them die a few minutes later, except for like Nitro Zeus, which is probably why he's the only one that got a figure. He's there till like the end of the movie.
And you know it's sad because it falls into the statement of history repeating itself.
Yeah.
Which I've always applied that to music, where at times if I just hear music that's terrible, I think, well, you had like 50, 60 years of content to research. There's no reason to be putting this out there when, there's stuff to reference. So for them to do the exact same thing of like, well, let's throw these characters in the movie like just as quickly as we can, they're basically redoing a rebirth all over again. Where the writers complained about that, and like we can't properly write a series, and bad enough it's only 3 episodes, and we have to bring in like dozens and dozens of characters to be in like each scene for like 5 seconds, and then you never see them again for the 3-part series.
Yeah, that was straight up a case of like, we only have the budget for 3 more episodes. Introduce year 4 so we can sell it. Like,
yeah, that was horrible.
Yeah, I it's funny because I think they did an admirable job given the circumstances on those 3 episodes. Like, it's not an ideal situation, but you can see that they were trying like real hard to make it all work.
Right. And I mean, as a kid, like, you see, for instance, you see Six Shot, and you're like, oh, Six Shot's this impressive toy, and he just comes in with a bang in the series, and it's like, okay, wow, you're a Six Shot. Never heard or seen of again, like, since then.
That was the funniest one. Most characters, they tried to put them in more than one scene in those 3 episodes, but he was literally just there and then not there anymore.
Yep. And then it falls in that same problem where it's like between the headmasters and the target masters, there's a certain amount of them that all came out at the exact same time, but the focus always tend to be on more of like the core characters, so then you forget of all these other characters that existed. And I'm like, but they all came out at the same time. It's not like, here 1 year there's these guys, and then a year later here's the other guys. They're all together.
Yeah, the Marvel comics had an interesting way of dealing with it. Like outside of that miniseries, they introduced the headmasters. Uh, you, you, bas- you basically had like so she's watching the movie over Discord, so she's talking to people.
Does the small person look like an Olsen twin, but like shrunk?
I don't know. Okay, I have no context for any of that.
Just a moment.
Yeah. Yeah, like
Olsen's got a knife.
at least like Punch Counter Punch got like 2 scenes instead of just one.
Yes, that's true. Well, I wonder if he got 2 scenes because he's technically 2 characters.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I was saying in Marvel, they handled it so like they introduced that the headmasters in that miniseries as like a totally separate group that had nothing to do with the main book, and then
Right.
they came to Earth at the end. So you had like Grimlock and the Autobots over here, and Fort Max and his headmasters over there, and they would do like separate stories. So they were like different teams, and that's kind of how they handled it.
Yeah. The Marvel or in a sense the comic book style of building stories and writing, and not
Yeah, yeah,
just put together a script, add some bombs, and then hope it sells.
yeah. It's
Well,
funny because I like to talk about how like I'm trying to collect the guys from the start of the Bumblebee movie who were also in it for like 5 seconds, but if the movie's good and the characters are still around afterwards to presumably exist, suddenly it's more appealing, right?
mhm. Exactly.
Yeah, Ratchet had like 30 seconds of screen time, but I still got the figure.
That's true.
And over here, Junk Heap is literally like a background Junkion. Like they just gave a name so they could make a figure out of, right? And
Right.
what's up to Prime Time as well on YouTube, by the way. I love the Thunderclash icon.
Nice. Actually, I
Yeah,
wonder if Primetime is going to jump in for this
yeah,
evening.
yeah. Well, if he wants to, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. In the meantime, yeah. So that's Junk Heap's just Wreck-Gar with like a new head and chest and some new parts to the bike. And if you got a Wreck-Gar like I do, and you don't want to buy a second one to get him to do the riding thing, well, there's your second Junkie on basically.
Yeah. And
Oh
what
yeah,
have your reviews?
yes. Soundwave, the same thing as Ravage, but even more mixed. This figure's got like a real nice looking robot mode. Like it photographs well. It's like super accurate to the movie. They even got like all of his like paint apps and colors that he had on the screen. He also changes into absolutely nothing. But you know, and and I said this in the review. Most of these guys don't have that problem. They invented alternate modes for them that work pretty well. This is the only one they dropped the ball on, right? So I guess it's like if you don't care that he changes into nothing because he didn't change into anything in the film anyway, then it's fine because his
Right.
robot mode is like excellent, and he's got like the little pop out Ravage gimmick, and his vehicle mode does drop Ravage like a bomb, which does sort of help. Yeah, it's supposed to. Like you press if you have Ravage and you turn him into like the cat box,
Mhm.
you press a button and he drops out like a bomb.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I tried to demonstrate it later on in the photos just by like taking 2 really quick pictures. I don't know how well it came across.
Well, you know what? Let's scroll down and see if we can find out one.
Yeah, I do show off his lamppost mode later too, because he
Nice.
can do it. Uh, just lot of pic. I have fun with these pictures, whenever I
Oh, yeah.
do.
No, why not? And I mean, it's just when you're playing with the characters and you start realizing the abilities that you composed of, it's why not have fun with it?
Yeah, there's a Ravage in his robot mode, like stashing in his chest. Yeah, that's a good looking photo.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think if you keep, yeah, and you can access them from the back too. Yeah, and that's from the bottom. So that's like the least flattering angle.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's his lamppost mode, by the way, which turned out pretty nice for a lamppost mode as far as these things go.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's not official. I just made that up as I was going. Yeah, and there's his whatever, his hover car thing.
It's a can opener.
Yeah, I'm like the rest of this little subline did it well. This is the only time they didn't. It's just a little bit funny because of that.
You know, if I had him, I'd attach him to a can.
Yeah, some people think he's based on that Transformers GI Joe thing there, which is why I put a picture of it there.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and just mount his guns. All right, yeah. There's my attempt to try and illustrate the bomb dropping thing.
There we go.
It's like just the before and the after. With he's on the table there.
There we go.
Yeah.
Ravage is looking a little bent.
Yeah. So I'm like, maybe it doesn't look like anything, but at least it like does something. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can drive the tank.
Why am I automatically thinking of Thundercats at that point?
Oh yeah, hey, just call it the Thunder Tank.
This is true.
Yeah. Yeah, that's and anybody can read more detailed thoughts under news and reviews on our Children of Primus website.
This is correct.
Mm-hmm.
With the reviews that come out on Mondays, and a special one that will be the first Friday of every month.
Yeah,
from what I've heard.
Yeah, it's so far I've kept that chain going, though it's only the second time. So until I run out of things to talk about, where I talk about non-Transformer stuff.
All right. Actually, I guess any more news that you know of for this week?
Good question. I haven't read it yet, but the Beast Wars annual came out, which is the only one they're going to get to make because the series has got to end.
Right.
Nice big thick collection of stories. Last Bot Standing will come out soon, which is the hot rod at the end of the war story, which is like, it might be it might be the last IDW story that they do.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate things went that direction.
Yeah, well, whoever gets it next. I've also have been like not keeping up with the modern comics too much just because of that book reading club that's had me reading the vintage ones instead. Oh, speaking of that, there's going to be I think it's going to come out in August. It just got announced. James Roberts announced it on his Twitter. There's going to be a special collection of UK rarities that's going to be coming out.
Nice.
And he said there's going to be something in there that's totally canon that's never been published before, and people are speculating over what that is because nobody knows.
That's very cool. And I've never read or knew anyone who had the UK series.
Yeah.
And I mean, anytime there was any reference of it, like there was only ever that one cover that they always mention. Almost in a sense of you forget that the UK series exists because they only ever mention that one cover.
Yeah, talking about Man of Iron.
That's it. Yeah, that's the only cover that really ever gets referenced. When the fact they've got an entire series.
Yeah, it's like because that's the one that got published in America as a fill-in issue in the American series.
Got it.
Yeah, that was like the first UK story. But yeah, the UK stuff's been pretty good because I told you the premise of it because they were republishing the American issues and then they were writing their own stories that happened in between them.
Right.
And they also made use of the Transformers the movies future timeline, and they would set whole like stories there. And there was a lot of time travel where people sure loved to come back to 1986 for one reason or another. Yeah. So like there's a lot of good stories about like Rodimus Prime and Galvatron and Simon Furman's bounty hunter character Death's Head that he invented, and a lot of the 1986 guys. It's an interesting bunch of stories. there's been a few collections published over here. Target 2006, which is like the first big UK epic that they did, got published by IDW. They did a few best of the UK collections.
Okay.
A lot of them are, yeah, it's worth reading. It's Simon Furman's first stuff before he like came over and did the American comics. So it's like his like prototypical stories that he first did.
Okay, yeah, that does sound very good.
Yeah, this is where I mean, Galvatron made his leap to the U.S. Marvel Comics eventually, but he first became a thing over in Marvel UK. You know, the toy colors Galvatron with the green matrix that just got homaged over in Kingdom.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, well, he's like a major force because he, like I said, they took his story and did a version of it in Earthrise and Kingdom because his thing is, you know, in the future he's still under Unicron's control, so he goes back in time to try and change the timeline. And so that's where they got that from in that show.
I was just going to ask, yeah, because that does sound just like within a Netflix series.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the details were different, but like they took that idea from there basically.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, it's I think the old one's better just because Furman's a good writer, and the show was like, you know, the show, which was, you know, a mixed bag.
Right. Well, let's see if I can find any other news while 'cause I know Mike should be in at 9:00. And you know, anyone else who's available to jump in is free to do so. Because I know we're not going too late this evening. Because you know we all have early mornings tomorrow.
Yeah, me too. I mean, eventually I can crack this guy open.
Yes.
Pull out the other Cybertron mode Ratchet from Siege and see how he compares to that. I got, yeah. I'll tell you a thing about Hot Rod and the specific reason that I got this one outside of just buying Hot Rods in general. To go with Star Convoy because the original came with a little Hot Rod.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I got them on the table here because I was taking photos, just in their vehicle modes. There we go.
Nice.
Yeah. Because the original came with Micromaster. The Generation Selects one here didn't come with one, so now, you know, if you get the Kingdom Legacy guy, then Star Convoy's got his small companion. Yeah, and I suppose I'll say right now, this is I review this guy on Monday. This is my next one.
Nice. Okay. Well, it's funny looking at that Optimus. He looks more like Power Master Optimus than a regular Optimus.
Yeah, it's because the Star Convoy, he started out as Power of the Primes Optimus. They like did that Takara thing where they like extensively retooled him.
Okay.
So he was like a traditional looking Optimus before they like spacified him.
Okay.
and this guy does do the Power Master type thing because the front changes into a smaller Optimus, and then you can combine with that into the big Star Convoy.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, and there is a review of him in my archives. If you want to go to Children of Primus /news and reviews, and something I've started doing is at the bottoms of my reviews, I include a link to the proper full archive. So if you want to go back.
Very cool. Or you know, or anyone that goes to the website, they can also put in the search to look up any characters that you've reviewed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that too. Just stabilize that a little bit. Yeah. Maybe I'll just show this guy off real quick. The little miniature hot rod that they did. See if I can get this in focus. Yeah, there we go. That was an accident. The problem is I look at the screen and all my actions are mirrored. So
yeah.
I say I want to move it that way, and I move it this way because that's what it is on my side, you know?
But just that scene right there, like you've just satisfied a percentage of people that said that Hot Rod got Optimus killed in the movie.
Not so. And hey, I passed the point in. Remember the example I showed from the Marvel adaptation of the animated movie, and that's canon in the Marvel UK comics. That's specifically the version of the movie that happened.
Wow.
So in that version of the story, Hot Rod doesn't interfere, and in fact, you can see his silhouette in the background of the in the comics. So like he was there, he just didn't jump in, and
Okay.
Optimus got shot up anyway. Oh, yeah. So no matter what Brandon Easton says, Hot Rod did not get Optimus killed.
Right.
Dang, I should have focused that. Pull it back a little bit more, but I don't want to make my laptop fall off the. There we go. Yeah, it's a weird transformation that's not based on any previous Hot Rod. They just kind of made it up for this.
Yeah.
Like the entire car is like contained in the legs, and you just like fold it up.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, and then you just fold these back here. You can leave the spoiler on. I just popped it off because it made things easier.
Right.
Pop that in. And there you go. Comes with a sword because I guess that's a thing now. Taking after Rodimus Prime. Yeah.
Because they told us that he needs a sword, so that's so that's the new thing that we're gonna follow with Hot Rod.
Yeah. Well, it looks good on the figure, so I'm hardly complaining.
Right.
Technically, if you have Legacy, Iguanus, and Skywarp, you can combine their weapons to make a really big weapon, which is probably why it comes with one.
Okay, which I did notice on the Hasbro Pulses, like they mentioned that in terms of like combining the weapons, and basically all the weapons have the ability to combine or to attach within certain parts of each character.
Yeah. Yeah, but also the little core guys specifically have like an Omni weapon. Like, guess I'm changing Star Convoy up. Show you the little inner robot because it's a really neat design. They decided to base it on the original G1 figure specifically instead of like his animation model.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it turns out.
Yeah. It does have the kind of Power Master transformation where it's in reverse because that winds up on his back.
And then that was the only thing that had disappointed me with Power Master Prime when I first got him was when the reverse transformation of his chest in his back, but then it's just trying to duplicate the G1 or the original figure. It didn't come off as well for that part of Power Master. But then when you combine them, like he's like, it's an amazing character.
Yeah. So there's his robot mode. One of his arms is backwards, and they base this off the G1 Optimus figure, so it's kind of hard to see at this resolution, but not only does he have the yellow eyes, but he's got like the 3 little slits on his visor too. I know his mouth plate.
Yeah, like that one looks a lot better.
Yeah. And he doesn't have... Evening, Bill.
Good evening, Bill.
He says on Facebook. He doesn't have a base mode, unfortunately. The original didn't have that feature either. But if you take his weapon out, you can pop it in half, and he's got like 2 pistols. Yeah. It's a really interesting little core robot they made.
Nice.
And then he can do the Power Master thing with this chunk in the back, which is a little bit more complicated, but not too complicated, which is why I like this figure. This is going to be a little bit of a journey. Let me just make some room. But yeah, he's got a pretty much got a body inside the trailer. That's why it doesn't have a base mode.
That looks funny.
Yeah. Just got to remember how to make all those gray panels go away. Yeah, that seems right. I'd just like to note that I'm the type of person that frequently needs reference images to do this, so I might not get everything 100% right if I'm going just from muscle memory in front of a camera.
No, it totally makes sense. I mean, transforming slug, like I realized that the exact same thing. Like you basically have to reference the instructions up until a certain point where it's like, now you kind of have to figure it out on yourself because the instructions don't seem to point out, the next step of where you've landed.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all right. I think I got it though. I think it's materializing into place. Yeah. But now I got to figure out how to change this guy into his Oscar Reyna III. While we're here, he says, any word on the Velocitron series? I know what he means. Not yet. I mean, we know what's rumored to be in it. It was on that leak list that I showed a couple weeks back, which has thus far come true. We're just waiting on either a stream or some JPEGs to drop, but we know what's probably going to be in it. Laser Prime's going to get his black repaint into Scourge or Black Convoy. They're going to do Skids in black as Burnout. Other things that I'm forgetting right now. Oh gosh, how did this go? I remember I had to fold his legs back. I think. Yeah, I think this is correct. Oh, yeah. See, there's so many, and this is a thing I like on modern Transformers. There'll be tabs and slots that exist not necessarily because they help make the figure stable, but because they sort of guide you into where stuff goes.
Got it.
Yeah. Who's streaming from, who's joined us? Is that,
Mr. Magnus, aka Bill.
How we
Oh,
doing,
hello.
gentlemen?
It's an interesting angle to start with.
I got it sitting on the counter while I get my whiskey bowl out.
Oh, nice.
Of course.
I'm just trying to remember how to do this man's arms. It's
They got the
honestly
Death Star.
do
I
not
got to
recall.
put it in my glass.
Ooh.
And TF Collect from Facebook says Star Convoy and Power of the Prime's Optimus Prime are excellent figures.
Yeah, the original of this was Orion Pax, and he changed into G1 Optimus.
Cool, I remember seeing that figure.
Yeah, I think it goes. I'm gonna really quickly pull out my phone and check something. And Oscar's saying, any word on what's coming out after Legacy? We don't know. It's too early. Once Legacy is almost done, then we'll probably start hearing about what's next. And, it'll probably go about 3 to 5 waves, and we only know 2 waves of it so far.
Well, within 3 to 5 waves, what time frame do you think that they would hit in terms of like their final wave?
Oh gosh, I'm not good at dates, so I couldn't tell you. But this stuff tends to run for at least a year.
Okay.
So my finds this week, I got Core Class, Hot Rod, Skywarp, and Iguanas.
Oh, so you can make that Omni weapon I was talking about.
Yep.
Nice.
Still no luck with Drag Strip yet.
I'd like to point something out here. I pulled up my actual review from the website of Star Convoy.
Why
Because
not?
I'm like, I do this on purpose. I took pictures of every angle so that I specifically would be able to consult my photos later.
That makes sense.
So I'm just gonna, you can't see it at all here, but I'm just gonna find the picture of him from the back and just quickly use that as a reference to figure out how to, oh yeah, that's exactly what I need. Just,
You know, I've seen that for some text situations where someone will write an answer out for as a solution to an issue, and basically they only wrote it out just as a back reference in case they needed to go back to it.
yeah. And there we go. I believe I got it. So
There we
just
go. It's the Unicron show. Oh, and Bill
Oh,
has
yeah.
a hot rod.
Yeah, I was gonna say the reason I brought out Star Convoy was because I got that
Nice.
figure as well, right? Because I'm like, I got him so he could be like the Micromaster Rodimus to Star Convoy's thing. Yeah, Skywarp.
Oh,
He's
that's
got
Skywarp. Yeah, that looks
we-
nice.
Yeah, it's got that weird tuning fork up front. And yeah, Iguanus. Lesser known character that doesn't receive as much love, getting his nice update.
Yeah, I had to actually look him up. I had never heard of him before.
Yeah, he's a pretender.
Right.
And,
That's what I found out.
I'll build Optimus's weapon after the fact, but this is the assembled Star Convoy, looking like a cross between a Transformer and a Gundam.
Yep, fully.
Yeah, that's what the original looked like. This is a pretty solid update of the design. But the original didn't do the Power Master thing. It was just a big truck into a big guy.
Yep. Oscar Reyna III on Facebook says there's 4 waves of legacy.
Yeah. And, get his arm up and see if I can get Hot Rod on here.
And Calvin from Facebook said Beast Wars character.
What about him? Oh, Iguanus? Yeah, like he was in Beast Wars too, but like he was a G1 guy before he was anything else. He was one of the original Decepticon pretenders.
Right.
Yeah. There we go. This is why I got Core Hot Rod to go along with Star Convoy.
Oh, that looks funny.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like the original was a Micromaster that came with him.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
He's got a.
This is that super weapon.
Oh yeah, switch over to his. I want to see that. Yeah. So that's why Hot Rod comes with a sword, because you should be able to build that giant thing.
Oh, that's very nice. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there we go. That's this guy. Maybe I can switch over to Studio Series and finally pop Ratchet open. I've been sitting on him for like 2 weeks.
Why not?
Yeah. Because I was going to say this is the only Legacy guy I got right now, which is technically just a Kingdom guy repackaged.
So y'all remember a couple weeks ago we were talking about Leader 1 being, a seeker that went the other way.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So now that we have Core Class,
oh hey, look at that! They're the same
Wow.
size, and they have the
They
same
got-
vehicle mode and everything. Ooh,
That
wow.
is crazy.
That is a custom waiting to happen. Somebody needs to take either Skywarp or Starscream and like the new one and paint them gray. Just to straight up do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
done.
Yeah.
I'll pick up another one next week now that you've thrown that in there.
Yeah. I bet that would look good. It would look sort of, the robot mode would be like a Seeker in gray.
That's what I
Nice,
pictured.
man. 1979. What are you saying, sir?
I'm saying that that character, Iguanus, he's from the Beast Wars series. Just to give you guys a heads up, Beast Wars Neo.
Yeah.
Yep, look him up. He's an actual lizard, and then he became a pretender, and it just went on to there. But they just jump in the timelines with this because Legacy is nothing but it's a time hop. They're time traveling through different generations.
Right.
Yeah. It's they sort of took the idea from the old Transformers universe line from like the 2000s, which was the same like premise of everybody from everywhere getting time crashed into this one place. Back then, it was Unicron's doing.
It still is. You know everything ties back to Unicron. They can't do anything different. Come on, now. Come on.
Yeah. Well,
Come on.
like basically the unproduced legacy show that's not happening would have probably involved that because of the way Kingdom the show ended with Unicron going like, time travel's interesting, maybe I should do that, and then cutting to credits.
And somewhere along the line, Thanos steps in along with Dreadlock. How are you doing this evening, sir?
I'm excellent. How are you, Genobots?
Doing all right. I was just about to pop this guy open.
I've been enjoying the transformations. As a matter of fact, once I throw back to you guys, I'm going to run over and show everybody who hasn't seen it that Orion Pax, Anthony, that you referenced earlier, because that's a really amazing figure.
Yeah.
And that whole design that they did originally, I think it was originally for that Orion Pax figure, right? This was Power Master Prime.
Takara did that thing that,
And the weakest thing about that, the version that I have, the original version, the bot mode of Orion Pax looks great. I display it with Masterpiece figures, and it looks as good as a Masterpiece figure. Totally different if you pick it up and handle it, right? It's chintzy plastic. But the weakest thing on that figure is the nice.
Yeah.
We got Leader 1.
Same size as Leader 1.
Yeah.
And robot and jet mode.
And the jet modes are the same, basically.
Yeah.
Is that the new 4 class Thundercracker? I mean Skyward?
Yeah, it is.
I only have the Starscream so far, and it's still in the package. So, Bill, how do you feel? Do you have any other third-party Legends Seekers, and how do those compare?
I have I don't know what the MP number is because that never mattered to me. But I have the MP version of Coronation Starscream and Thrust and Dirge.
But what about Legend scale? Because that would be apples to apples, like either the DX9 or Mech Fans Toys did any of the Legend scale.
No, the only DX ones that I have are the War in Your Pocket Dinobots.
Oh, okay. So, but that would be this right scale, right? The War in Pocket Dinobots would scale with that core class figure that you just showed.
Yeah, they're a little bit smaller. Yeah.
Big up to Soul Jana on YouTube, who's giving me props for my turban.
Yeah.
Very, very fly indeed. Obviously, she's got very good taste.
Something new they did here for Studio Series quickly that I want to point out. They have like 2 backdrops. One that they tied them to, and then a separate one if you want, so that there's no like tape or twist ties on it. It's just kind of this is the first time I've seen this. I guess this is a brand new thing.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
Yeah, so that you can still have the backdrop but have it like not
Anthony, what I was saying about the Orion Pax sort of Power Master Prime, for lack of a better term, is the weakest part on that is the truck mode. Like Orion Pax in truck looks pretty bad, but it appears to me that the version that you have, it looks like the actual cab in vehicle mode has some improvements over the original. And also, as you showed that the bot mode of that Optimus Prime, as Finn said, not only does that look, light years better than the original Power Master Prime in his just the cab, but also that looks really nice just as an Optimus Prime. So my question is, handling that Optimus Prime compared to, say, Earthrise Optimus Prime, is the Earthrise still a lot better because it's a leader class figure? Or does that Optimus hold its own next to Earthrise?
Yeah, I'd say I think the Earthrise does hold its own against this because this is just a retool of that one, so it's still got the same like different kind of like shinier, slicker plastic quality that's a little bit cheaper feeling.
Right.
And like I would note, they didn't really change the vehicle mode very much. It's still kind of messy.
Is
You
it?
tend to yeah, it tends to be less obvious on this guy because Star Convoy already, like the original, changed into a weird science fiction vehicle. So this one's under less pressure to like look realistic. So it kind of aesthetically makes a bit more sense. But yeah, it's
Okay.
still pretty messy.
Okay. Maybe it
Like,
was just the angle, but it was looking like the truck wasn't looking like so horrible.
Yeah.
But you know, versus the original I have. But maybe if I look closer, or you know, you just look at it from the side or the back, and it looks like trash.
Yeah.
Oh, you
But
know,
I mean,
until you moved Ratchet there for a second, I was gonna say like he had some like googly eyes sitting on top of his head, just
Oh,
from the
yeah.
angle of where we were standing.
it's from the Sonic set in the back.
Yeah.
So D, this is what you missed just a minute ago. I went ahead and transformed them back.
Yeah, check this out. They're like the same. Yeah, they're like identical looking like silhouettes. And
Speaking of which, have you guys seen the movie Contact? Because Anthony and I watched it for the first time last night, and damn.
Your mic's not working.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
sorry.
missing his,
Thanks, Spin. I
yeah,
had
he's
muted it.
missing the missiles too.
Yeah, those look great together.
Yeah.
That movie,
I think that's the way to display them. You gotta find a way to do a nice like set of jets.
definitely not that great.
Was it? That's leader one from the GoBots.
Like,
No, I know. It's really cool how you have them in scale like that.
it was funny. It was funny watching.
Well, for those jumping in, this is our regular freestyle Frenzy Sundays. Then from between 8 p.m. to about 9 p.m., we cover some of the news. With D being here, is there any third-party news that you can mention that you've heard of in the last week?
Well, I can give you. So, you know, we were talking about like doing the third-party segment.
Correct.
So there's not any big masterpiece news or third-party news this week, but I think what we can do is talk about on a weekly basis. We could talk about what are the main issues, what are the biggest things that people are talking about in third-party this week,
Yeah.
or you know, in recent weeks. And I think the big conversations around third-party masterpiece scale right now is the comparison between. So I would say there's three things, and then we could. Can you guys mute whatever mic is not? Whenever you're not talking, just mute your mic because there's a lot of background noise. So three things in third party we could talk about, and then maybe we could pick one of them for now, or we could talk about all three if you guys are interested. But I think the biggest news, and if one of you guys could pull up some pictures, it would be cool, would be talking about the Deformation Space Blaster. So the third party blaster that they came out with, because people are just getting those now, and the comparison with the older third party masterpiece blaster that we have, which is the KFC Transistor. So even though KFC Transistor is a good, 5 years old, there still are some aesthetic cues that some people might like better if you like the more sophisticated stuff. But overall, the new Deformation Space blaster is really an incredible figure. It's probably something that we would want to talk about and have a look at. So if anybody could pull up some pictures, we could go into that. And then the other two topics that we could talk about is similarly the third-party Perceptors that came out about a month or two ago, but that's still like people are still deciding, do you want to go with the new Fans Toys version of their 2.0 Tesla, or you want to go with the $100 cheaper KFC Perceptor that they came out with, which also has its pros and cons. Both are really good looking. Both have their drawbacks. So those are the major figure issues that we could discuss for third party. You guys have a preference? Anybody want to discuss those? Anybody want to bring up the images to compare them?
Well,
pulling up one of the images right now.
Anybody have a preference between either of those two blasters? Maybe once we get the pictures up, we can talk about which blaster you think looks better, which of the Perceptors you think looks better. But any opinions on it so far, if you guys already know about these figures?
So do you follow Bobby? I think it's Scarface or something like that. Do you follow
Yeah,
him?
yeah. That's my main dude.
Yeah, I was listening to him what he was saying on the two blaster figures, and I guess to me it's like the more money you put into the figure, the gooder it looks. That's just my opinion.
Well, the thing, but check this out though, because so this figure, what he said, hands down, here's the new one, and there's a lot of pros to this figure. So this is the deformation space figure, and this is going anywhere. If you order from China, it's $150. You order U.S. retailer, you're paying $200. Now the KFC, which is a much older figure, you're still paying $130, $140. So they're in the same kind of price range. Now this is a much newer figure. It's much better quality in terms of engineering and all that kind of stuff. But of course, it has time on its side. But in terms of like comparing the money, like it's kind of hard to do that comparison here because one is new, one is old. And with the older one, you have the more premium paint on it and the more sophisticated sculpt. There you go. So if you're going to talk about which toy is better, just the deformation space is a better toy. It's got better articulation and it's a newer thing. But if you look at that metallic paint, if you look at the sophistication of sculpt in the transistor, some people might still prefer to have that in their collection. So I don't know what you guys think. In this case, it's not necessarily just the more expensive one, the better. More so, I think that Bobby did say that with the Tesla, right? With the Fans Toys Perceptor, you are paying $100 more and you are getting a more premium figure. That's true. But here, it's not as clear. What do you guys think?
Well, I will say, if you're getting these as like, there's another comparison. If you're getting these as like an accompaniment to official masterpieces, the new one there, which one is the new
Deformation
one?
Space. DS.
Yeah, Deformation Space, the non-metallic one. It does feel visually like it aligns with the current cartoon accurate Takara masterpieces better. So
Totally
like
does.
if you're like building out a collection of those, this feels like it would go along with it better. So on that level, that would be my preference out of the two. The one that looks more cartoon accurate.
Yes.
Spin, would you say the same thing? Because you often go for so check this out. What DS is referencing here is pure tune accuracy, right? Almost what Bobby would say is almost to a fault. Whereas what KFC was going for with Transistor there is they're homaging both the cartoon but also the toy. So often you are somebody who on the show likes to see that homage to the G1 toy and the more sophisticated sculpt. So in this case, do you prefer also the simpler one, or do you prefer the more sophisticated sculpt?
Before I answer your question, good evening, Mike, who has joined us at a 9 o'clock hour. So I see we have our full crew for Frenzy Freestyle Sunday of Fear and Courage, Mr. Magnus Bill, Iceman Calvin, and Grim Dreadlock D. To answer your question, looking at the two images, although the transistor version of Blaster does look impressive in terms of the metallic look and quality put into it, I'm really more on the DS version. It's just that he looks, in a sense, as a kid, it's like, well, if I could get a version of the toy to the cartoon, I would go with the DS version. Because sometimes just the simplified version of something is a lot better than when it's either too complex or too detailed.
Doing too much, as they say.
Yeah, it's doing too much.
Yeah. So everybody else, you all agree you would everybody just even just on the aesthetic cues, because quality, there's no contest. Quality, it's DS. So the only thing that is really at issue is there anybody who prefers the look, the aesthetic, like on your shelf? Would anybody pick KFC Transistor or no? Everybody's going DS.
Yeah, like not even outside of cartoon accuracy. I'm more of a fan of like figures with like made out of like bright, pleasant chunks than ones that are covered in tech detail. So on that level too, I prefer the new one, the deformation space one.
All right. So what about the guys who haven't voted?
Okay, for me, I'm going to go against the wave because I like the metallics.
Me too. I love those metallic paints. And I said the same thing as Mike. Sorry, go ahead.
I said the TFM Stunticons are my favorite because they are metallic.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not a huge Blaster fan. Okay, so
blasphemy.
So,
DJ
so,
Sinister,
so
what is going on here?
So for me, if I was going to buy one of these, I would go for the metallic one because I like the way that looks. Because
all right, well, I'll tell you what, Bill.
It's not the cartoon accuracy. It's the I'm a big bright shiny thing.
I got a deal for you, Bill. The one in my collection is in fact the big shiny one, which I like. However, everybody else here, is voting for the DS. So I think what we got to do to have one of these on the channel is you buy the DS, show it to everybody, and then when you and I hook up, we'll swap. And you don't have either, yeah. So I'll give you my transistor, and then you give me the DS, and that way we'll both have had a chance to mess with both. And boom, Bob's your uncle.
I like it.
See, it's funny, me being old school. I remember the day I bought Blaster. I believe it was for my birthday, and my mom said, here's $20. Go get a transformer that you want.
Oh, God. Was he only $20?
Well, he was actually, I think, I believe, like $15.99, which I was surprised when the Blaster that came out in Walmart, like the last year or two. And the prices were like between $15 and then dropping down to like $9. I'm like, this is crazy. Like this Blaster, which the reissue is the same price I bought him for back in '85. Now going over to Iceman, Mr. Calvin, I know you're not a fan of the third party. So what is your answer to the question between the two characters?
Oh boy. I just want to knock both of them over.
The answer is you want to get the Kingdom Legacy one instead.
Yep, I got that one. Actually, I got the reissue. I got the Titans Return one, and I got the Kingdom one, and I also got the Legacy one. The blasters, like I got them, and then I got the one for the Fall of Cybertron. So
okay, well, listen, I need just one of those. All right, just give me one of them. I don't care which one. Sounds like they're all the same.
No, they're not actually. But yeah, carry on. But like I just said,
no, the Earthrise and Legacy are the same, right?
Yeah. I think to me it's just something that is a huge difference, but they're the same. One is lighter and one is darker.
Oh, I sit corrected. Thank you.
But just like I said with this is like pretty much a Titans Return figure, but it's just an upgrade. So I would do the DS one.
Okay. Okay. Trust me, it's a big upgrade. Like you're not, there is a huge difference. The articulation on that guy is really great. The materials are really great. I will tell you, so you already watched the reviews. The one drawback with the DS, there's two drawbacks that people are complaining about. One, even though that looks matte, the whole thing is painted, which is great. It's got good physical presentation that doesn't always come across in the pictures. But the paint is scratching for everybody. So that is a drawback. And that's something you usually worry about on the shiny metallic ones, as that Bill and I like. But that's actually a problem with this version. And then the other problem is the cassette tapes are getting stuck inside the chest. So they're also that can also scratch. And that's like, how did they screw that up? Like, you're going to do all this sophisticated engineering, and then you're going to have the same problem that we had in G1 where you can't get the tape out the chest.
Wow.
Now, G1 Blaster has been just transformed.
Yeah. In fact, that's something I want to ask as the most frequent problem that I have with third-party figures, especially, comparing it to that guy. Out of these two, how difficult are their transformations? Because I know some of these guys can be journeys. Some of the guys I've had have been journeys,
Yeah. So
I used to have a Fans Toys Hoodlum, their take on Hot Rod, and I could not transform that thing with anything less than 45 minutes and multiple reference images to squint at.
Jeez.
So these are complicated. I would say Transistor is worse. And the DS, it's complicated, but it's made by, so this is the same company. Rumor is, you guys know that with third-party companies, sometimes they have aliases. So KFC that you're seeing on here with the logo, the Transistor, that's also XTB, right? Keith, who runs Keith's Fantasy Club, he also owns XTB, which is X-Transbots. Now, it is rumored that Deformation Space, and this is their first product under this name, but it's rumored that they are the same company as Transform Element, who has made two other third-party masterpiece scale figures. One is a Mirage, and their first one is the Optimus Prime. And the Optimus Prime Transform Element, some people say that's the best masterpiece scale Optimus. Some people really love that Toon look. It matches 100% with this look here with the DS. And people say it is one of the worst transformations ever. Like, it is a brutal Optimus Prime transformation. So by comparison, I misspoke. I just said this is the first. I'm wrong. The first thing that DS came out with under that name is the Deformation Space Seekers, the Masterpiece Seekers, which, again, people are saying that that's Starscream, and now they've got all of them available now, just the first three. And those transformations are horrible, worse than MP52, if you can believe that. So, these are difficult, but this one is going to be easier because, think about it. It's going from, this. So a lot of people say, basically another pro to that Deformation Space version is you can, more than any other figure, it's like this figure, and then you give this figure supreme articulation, and that's what you have. And then make the face and everything else look exactly like the cartoon rather than the toy. That's what you have.
So basically, they're selling the head sculpt.
Yeah, it's basically that. You're right, exactly. Everything else is just like G1, isn't it? But Blaster also is one of the figures that was changed the least for the cartoon.
Yeah,
because he doesn't have any wheels that you need to hide or doors that you need to hide.
Inferno's one of the other few characters that basically the toy and the cartoon were almost identical for G1.
Would that interesting point? Would Grapple also apply?
Yes, yeah, Grapple would apply as well.
I've got those over here.
That's an interesting conversation, right? Like who was changed the most and the least?
Well, Ratchet was definitely the most. Ratchet and Ironhide was definitely the most because they made their repair bays vanish.
Oh yeah, right.
From piloted mechs to proper things.
Well, those are the ones you would argue they're the ones who really needed it.
Yeah. Well, actually, who else? There's a handful of G1 characters when you look at the toy and be like, oh gosh, between the toy and the cartoon just drastically different, with Ironhide and Ratchet being the joke for the last 40 years.
Yeah. So guys, before we move past these figures, and I don't know if anybody has a smackdown of the two Perceptors we could look at, but Oladi didn't give us his vote.
What were they called again? Tesla.
It's Fans Toys Tesla 2.0 versus KFC. Just put KFC Perceptor. I'm blanking on the name at this second.
Right, but just before we get to the Perceptor, Mike, what are you saying about the two blasters?
I was just kind of waiting my turn. That's all.
Good evening, sir.
You know what? I'm on the fence on both of them because I do like big shiny stuff. I like more of the robotic because of the metallic, but at the same time too, I do like the you know, the nostalgic, you know, G1 toy kind of look, cartoonish. So my only gripe, what I would do, that obviously the DS be my first choice, but if I could, you know, swap the guns, and on the DS figure was a transistor, and then what's called and swap you know, the feet, because if you look at the original blaster, he had black feet.
Correct.
Yeah,
I can.
and you know what?
I can.
That's funny you pointed it out, because
Yeah.
the transistor's gun is G1, whereas DS isn't.
Correct. And if you could swap the
The
feet,
Why is it
notorious
G1? Because of the
electric
hole?
scrambler.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's because of the hole. But even the toy too has the hole in it as well, right? And
Okay.
so I swapped the blaster, swap the feet, and then obviously I go with the DS just to give it that G1, and also the toy, you know, the G1 toy, right? So it gives it that whole, that it plays that whole homage to it, right?
Totally. Now,
But I will
in the
still
cartoon,
pick up both. I will still pick up the transistor, because I actually like Bill. I like metallic as well too on
Yeah, it
certain
looks good.
Transformers, right? I'll give you an example that didn't work with metallic. The Generation Jetfire, right? With the what's called his blaster and the red parts, like the backpack and stuff like that, and that was a metallic, right? I didn't like that. I'd rather have the whole figure metallic or no metallic, right?
Oh, is it because he had two different reds? Like it wasn't all, like not all the red was metallic?
No, all the reds were metallic, like his backpack, his side, his gun, and all that, right? But then the rest of it was just like the regular paint white, which I didn't
the
like.
white. Yeah.
The Kara didn't do the metallic, and if you look at it, it actually it looks really good, right? But again, I do like both figures. They're almost bang on in a sense, but if I have to pick first, I'll go with the DS, and then obviously I'll go with the transistor one right after.
So I wonder, so you would definitely agree, and I wonder if the rest of you guys would all agree with this. What Mike from Tidarium's hangar said when he reviewed them is if Deformation Space releases a reissue with the metallic paints, which is a possibility. They've done that with, if they are Transform Element, they've done that with their Optimus Prime. So if they release this version with the shiny paint, then it's a no-brainer, right, over the transistor, and I would definitely go for that.
Oh, yeah. But if they do those little tiny things too, right, like, you know, paint the feet black and give them the proper gun.
Were the feet black also in the cartoon?
It's a good question.
That is a good question.
Just report the pictures. I think probably not. I think the reason why they made them gray is because, you know, they're matching the cartoon.
And
well, he's looking at the image.
But the thing is, if you could do two things in one, meaning paying homage to the toy and to the cartoon, that's
no, I agree. I agree.
You're getting your bang for your buck there, right?
Well, and that is what Transistor is doing, right? Because if you look at Transistor, he's got, you know, it is homaging both. You can see elements from both, right? The head sculpt is clearly from the cartoon, and then you have the black feet from the toy. Whereas the DS, one of the critiques of DS and Masterpiece in general these days is like cartoon, not to the point of representing the way those figures were, but cartoon as in making it too kid-like.
Yeah, he does. But the other thing that I like about Transistor, if you look at his play buttons, you know, like his buttons, like his fast forward, record, and all that, that's actually more cartoon and toy accurate as well, right? So there's certain elements in there that I would like to swap, but I still go for the DS first.
And you know what? No, but to your point, Mike. To your point, and I want to take a little jab at Anthony here with this image on the screen. Anthony, did you pull this up?
Yeah, this is from the Transformers Wiki. I just top of his article.
Yeah. Okay, so now this is a great image to make the point that I'm making now. So what Bobby and I, one of our criticisms of what he calls like slavishly cartoon. Put this full screen again, that image. Now, if you look at Now, remember, you were just saying a moment ago that you don't like figures that are overly sophisticated, too much panel work. And like, that makes sense. Like, I understand what you mean. But if you look at the line detail on this image, on this cell picture, this actually has more line work than the deformation space figure. So they have gone so far in simplification that you could argue they've made it more simple than the cartoon. And that's just, going too far. Like, I would like to see this level of line work in detail, because when I look at that figure, that's a $150 or $250 figure. And really it doesn't have like the kind of shelf presence that a lot of the other figures that I have, that I like to see. Right. And that all of us, when Bill's talking about, he loves those shiny Stunticons, it's because that paint gives it that shelf presence, and at least some degree of sculpt also gives it shelf presence. So that's my one critique of the DS figure.
Well, sure. When you have a nice shiny metallic color and you have a beautiful setup with all those nice, LED lights going off of the metallic color, how Bill has
But
this
even,
show.
sorry, I convoluted it by bringing it, but
great.
the paint. You talked about the paint, but let's talk about Orlati. What do you think about the line work? Like, do you agree with Anthony that DS looks better because it's got less line work, or do you think the DS actually has too little line work, given that you like to see something in between?
I think he's lost his connection there for a moment.
No.
While he's coming back to answer, TF Collect from Facebook said, I'd argue G1 Megatron got changed the most after Ironhide and Ratchet. When we're comparing the toys to the cartoon. And then TF Collect also says, and there we go, and of course, Jetfire / Skyfire.
Yeah. Jetfire is an interesting one because that was a case of they legally had to change him because of the Macross design.
Right.
Sorry, guys. I froze there for a bit there, and everything had to get refreshed. So, D, what was your question again?
I was just saying, aside from the paint question, what do you think about the argument I just gave about the line work on the DS being too simple? Even for a cartoon homage, it's too simple. So don't you think that line work should be more sophisticated on the DS, or do you like it the way it is?
No, I totally agree with what you're saying about the line, but the line, all the little tiny artistic in the lines and everything. I totally agree with that, because if you're paying $150, $200 on a figure, right? You want to see that detail.
Yeah, you want the artist to have done some work.
Exactly. You just took the words right out of my mouth, right?
Take that, Anthony.
Take some money. That was gonna happen. They trick both of y'all.
See, but the funny thing is, like, sometimes there's a little bit too much detail, right? And some figures. But in this particular case, with the DS, I have to agree with D 100%, because you want to. I know I'm repeating myself, but $150, you want to see some details in there.
Yeah. I just transformed Bumblebee movie Ratchet while we were talking, and I didn't realize I was going to get a full screen, but I have a full screen. It's a very nice, like, lunar crawler mode, because I was saying earlier in the show, they didn't make the sound wave change into, like, anything, but this is an example of them actually doing a good job of inventing an alternate mode for him.
Yeah,
and I just have them compared to the Siege one here, so it's like, which Cybertron mode's better? Both.
Yeah, let's vote. Let's vote. Which one do you guys like better? I don't like the side panels on that lunar. I don't like the side panels. I like the front, but the side looks like trash.
Yeah.
Siege is the one on the right?
Yeah, Siege is the longer one.
I vote for Siege.
Yeah, my vote is for Siege as well.
Yeah, interesting.
Me too.
I'd say the big downside of Siege is that his hands are just like right out there on the back of him, whereas this guy managed to be cleaner. Everybody's
but the vehicle mode looks like trash. Like the Siege looks more like a vehicle.
Yeah.
The other one, only the front looks good, and the rest looks like It's from I don't know, like it looks like one of those one change transformers. That's what it looks like. It looks like one of the transformers for a 3-year-old.
Yeah, I have to
Interesting.
agree with D because that's exactly what I'm thinking. If they made that bigger, like to the Siege size,
Right.
maybe,
T-
but I'm
TF
gonna go with
collect.
Siege.
No, it's
TF
just a
collect
sculpt
from
on the
a-
side. It's like they sculpted the front,
Yeah,
and then they decided to like not bother with the rest of it.
Yeah. I've said before, it's kind of interesting the creation of these Bumblebee guys because they didn't have vehicle modes designed for the movie. So when they're making these figures, the designers have to invent them under the restrictions.
Anthony, you say that every episode, and I'm not going to let you get away with that anymore. I have told you that is not a reason to give them a pass on a shitty alt mode. That's a reason to hold them to a higher standard because there's nothing that they have to match.
Yep.
So there's all you got to do is you got a robot. The robot has to look the way it does on the screen, and the alt mode can look any way that you want to make it look. Just make it look good. And they failed. All right. They didn't fail at the concept stage. If you look at the concept designs of that vehicle, it looks really good. They failed in the execution of the toy because they were being cheap and lazy. And we have to call them on it when they're being cheap and lazy. The whole thing is trash except for the front.
You paid $150,000 for a guy that gave you $1.50 work.
Murder, motherfucking Prime. Bam.
And guess what, folks? Keep this in mind. They coming up with a 1986 Ratchet. It popped up. So we're going to get that same Siege figure with a different head sculpt.
It's probably, if they're doing the Studio Series 86 one, it's probably going to be a repaint or re-release of this guy, the Galactic Odyssey one.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
Because it's got an Earth mode, and also
they didn't do a mainstream release anyway, so I need that figure.
Yeah, like you had to get it in the Amazon 2-pack with Lifeline, which, good set, but it's also kind of hard to come by. Like, if you didn't jump on the pre-order like I did, like you were kind of out of luck.
Oh, it was worse. You know what? I pre-ordered that on Amazon, and I was one of those people who they just canceled my pre-order.
Yeah.
And it's like, sorry, we sold more pre-orders than we have figures for. So you don't
get out of luck.
Well, mine did not get canceled. And mine came to the house, and I picked it up and I put it away. It looked just like that.
Let me guess, five or less, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
No, this is my third set.
This
is the one that's
This is why these people. This is why all these pre-orders don't get fulfilled because you buy them.
So that's why your order got canceled.
That's
why it got canceled.
It was Bill's fault.
It's not my fault. I ordered one from my email account. I ordered one from my girlfriend's account, and I ordered one from my son's account.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so Bill, it's not a triple changer. So why 3?
D, this is what happened.
The third
1
was
for
because
Bill,
I like to have
2 for Bill, 3 for Bill, and this is what happened to you. Damn.
But the reason I order in 3 is in case something gets canceled. That way I get the 2 that I'm after, and then I get this third one that I get to hook a friend up. When he comes up here.
Sounds good. I'm not complaining. Smart man.
I was gonna say too, if they give this guy a release in '86, they could be a chance for them to like tune his colors up a bit because he didn't quite wind up tune accurate because he definitely needs like more red on him to match his animation appearance. So if they're doing a Studio Series one, yeah, I never got.
Yep, I got that one too.
See, that's a good-looking set, even if you're not into Shattered Glass. Like, it's just a good-looking set of decos. I missed my shot at those guys, and I kind of regret that.
Somebody show me what the Ratchet looks like. I saw the Prime. I never saw the Ratchet. What color is he?
Let me get that.
Shattered Glass one?
TF Collector from Facebook also agrees with the Siege Ratchet in terms of the alt mode. And as in Children of Primus says, if your orders are out of stock, talk to Mr. Magnus.
Who's Children of Primus?
I heard they're a website.
Oh wow!
They also they have Freestyle Frenzy Sundays every
It's
Sunday.
a website you could go to buy and sell Transformers, and it's free to buy and sell, so it's a good place to go.
I also heard they have a talented writer, Farrah Courage, that does weekly reviews and monthly reviews as well.
Yeah, but some of the guys on the podcast are real jerks. So,
well, damn.
There's one that just makes the rest of them envious.
Yep, I got that one too.
This is the third set.
Give them full screen. I'm not.
Got that one too.
Getting the full
no,
screen.
Man, I don't have none of those sets. I need all of that stuff. I need all that
That's the one
stuff.
that people were mad about.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, that prowl. I need that prowl. Bill is the master collector when it comes to mainline. That's for sure. He's got everybody, all of us slaughtered. I can give him a run for his money, so to speak, on third party. But not mainline.
I don't have a whole lot of third party. I just buy what I like. I'm not a hard third party guy, but when I see something, of course, but when I saw these metallic Insecticons, that was my bane right there.
Yeah.
And a buddy of mine showed me the X Transbox ones, and I was like, oh god. And then somebody on what was it, Liberated, put up the full set minus his trailer because he was so pissed off that they charged more for the trailer than they charged for Motormaster. He was like, whole set $600.
Hold on, we got to give some props to Kelvin as well too, because he's a master of hunters. Because I've gone to his Instagram, I've gone on his Instagram page, and I see him posting his hunts all the time. So,
you know, and you got to give him, you definitely have to give him props, because Bill, maybe Bill is beating everybody in terms of that mainline collection, but he's using the power of the wallet. He just turns on the money hose and sprays motherfuckers. Whereas,
so you think Bill the only person got money?
Iceman. I'm saying, obviously you're spending money. Listen, but Iceman is hunting, so he's using those skills.
Yeah.
No,
right?
I just
so
got
he's the
unlimited
underdog.
funds.
He's going out and finding it.
I got unlimited funds and friends.
We got an interesting.
He's not just spraying the money hose. He's doing other things.
An interesting line of records on our lineup, because wherever a Transformer is hiding, Calvin will find it, and if Calvin doesn't find it, Bill will find it.
Yes.
See, this is why we make such a great team, because we all have our special skills.
Yeah. Yep.
So on our tech specs, it will say that like Iceman is the hunter.
You see that?
Ooh,
$7.
Jeez, Louise.
And guess what?
That's like $58 Canadian for us.
I got that guy somewhere here.
I got 3 of them, and that was at Walmart sitting there dancing on the pegs doing break dances. So. And they got more right now that they discontinued. So I will go back and just have me a little handy basket, dump them all in there, and just give it to people who need them.
You know what? I did that with? I meant to show you guys. I was at Walmart, and they have marked down the Stalker G.I. Joe figures to $6, the retro line. So there were like 6 of them on the peg, and I bought all 6 for $6.
Why not?
Have you noticed all the Canadians that are on the top part are like super quiet? Because there is no rollbacks and clearance and lower the sticker prices.
Well, it doesn't seem to be stopping.
Nice.
Oh, there's Stalker. So I got 7 of those. Nice. I got the original one I paid full price for, and then I got 6 more for $6 each.
I heard he's a bit of a stalker, that guy.
Well, Mike, it's funny, speaking in terms of the Canadians being quiet, just the other day I passed through Walmart and I said, you know what, let me check out the toy aisle in the Transformer toy aisle. And I'm going to start a segment and see if this passes around into different groups.
Murder!
Yeah, it's essentially just take a picture of, just walk in the aisle, take a picture of it, as is, and let us see how your Walmart Transformers section looks. And
I'll do that. That sounds like a good point of comparison.
yeah, like when I saw it, I was just like, oh, this is a disaster. I'm gonna see if I can copy the picture over and show it.
Yeah, just stick it in a browser window and share your screen. That's how I do
Yeah.
it.
My Walmart is horrible. They don't have basically anything, and if they do have something, it's like the one that you don't want, and it costs like $100.
Yeah, because what I was saying earlier in the episode was mine's pretty good, but I know that's not always the case. I've seen bad ones. I just happen to currently be in an area that has a good one.
The funny thing is, I got a couple of Toys R Us that I got to start checking out. I haven't gone there for the longest. That's right, Americans. We still have Toys R Us.
Mm-hmm.
But I gotta go by there and check that out, because at least they'll stock the same thing over and over and over, right?
Yep.
Stalker's
there they go.
Yeah, Stalker's not a troop builder, right? That's just like a singular guy, because it looks like
Those
you're
are
doing
the Vipers,
thing.
the Cobra Troopers without the helmet.
Cobra.
Like you got the faces.
That's new. That's a new gimmick. The Bill Freeze? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think so.
I was gonna ask Bill. Have you noticed that like half of the G.I. Joe figures not coming out to June and next year?
I haven't seen a G.I. Joe figure on a shelf in months here.
Jeez.
I see the classified guys, but it seems like they're really hanging around. I've seen that movie Snake Eyes for a very long time.
That movie was so trash.
It was
every
bad.
G.I. Joe movie they made is trash.
I haven't watched it, so I don't have an opinion. I'm just like keep recognizing that one in particular. It's a good looking figure, at least.
That's a needs a reboot.
Ooh, what you got on the shelf there, Willis?
So we got Classified, we got Snake Eyes and Flint, and then we got an assortment of other guys. Here's Gun Ho. This is the movie Snake Eyes. Trash. Yeah. Look at this Destro, though. Have you guys seen this Destro?
I love that. PD Destro. Oh, in Profit Director Destro, which actually stands for Pimp Daddy Destro. They just can't call
it's Pimp Daddy Destro.
Yeah.
Here's Elsie. But I'm going mobile because I wanted to show you guys from earlier in the show.
Oh yeah, Orion Pax.
Nice.
Right. And I know you guys are GoBot fans. Check out this little dude.
Oh, what's his name? Road Ranger.
Oh yeah, what's his name again? I remember him.
Road Ranger.
Road Ranger was the motorcycle.
What'd you say, Bill?
Semi's name. Road Ranger was a motorcycle. He looked like a Chips bike. I'm trying to think of what that one's name is.
That's Baby Optimus.
Yeah,
so basically he was my Baby Optimus. Like that G1 that GoBot. I had this GoBot before I had Optimus Prime. So that was my little Optimus Prime till I got him. And then this right here.
That's Road Ranger.
And then now look at pipes. So here's my G1 pipes, which scales, by the way, more or less. Close. And then here's Masterpiece pipes. This Masterpiece is by KFC. And they recolored him to make a Masterpiece scale GoBot.
Damn.
And so you got this guy, right? So look, that's a Masterpiece GoBot. And it's a really dope figure.
Yeah.
And my point here is what I said earlier is notice how that Orion Pax scales with those Masterpiece figures. Like you can't tell when he's on the shelf that he's not the same quality as the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And there's Straxus, who we've seen before. Oh, here is Mech Fans Toys Seeker. We were talking about Legend Scale Seekers. There's a Mech Fans Toys Seeker.
Sunstorm.
And Storm Chat. All right.
Nice.
Over to you guys.
So I had one more G.I. Joe thing I wanted to show y'all. This one survived my childhood.
Oh, nice.
Oh, beautiful. That is nice, Bill.
It's missing one rocket, but That and there's
I always wanted one of those.
You know what? I can almost match you. You know what I still have? You know the helicopter, the Mamba?
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
That
nice.
big, huge one. And then it had like the 2 paws that comes out. I still have that. It's
Hey,
downstairs.
Bill, did you order the new what is that jet
Megatron
called?
The Megatron his tank?
No. The jet. What is the G.I. Joe jet called?
The
Tomahawk.
HasLab one, the crowdfunded one.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't
Yeah.
even seen that yet. I need to go look
That
at
got
that.
canceled.
Oh, was it canceled?
Yes,
Did it-
sir.
It didn't get
make-
funded. Well,
They were trying to redo the Sky Striker?
Yeah.
yeah,
I
and it
didn't-
looked good, but it was too expensive for what it was, I think.
Overpriced.
Yeah.
What they try to do, they try to get extra money from a figure that, it could have been $80. It could have been $50. They wanted $200.
Oh
It
God.
was too much.
Dude,
If
you
they
can buy a
want to charge
classic one in the
$200, they
box
got to give us more. It's not like we won't pay $200, but not for like just an updated version of our G.I. Joe jet.
Yeah. I think it got funded. I'm looking up articles on my phone. Bleeding Cool said it got funded. I don't think it hit like all of its tiers, but I think it did come through. Oh yeah, there's a picture of somebody's messy Walmart.
Damn.
Good Lord.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
that's
it's-
that's the Walmart close to me, or one of the Walmarts, since there's like 5 of them that surround me.
Man, what the hell? So do people just hate figures or something?
Yeah, I don't know.
Not to jump the gun, but are we going to talk about the hidden DCP outnumbers?
Oh yeah, we showed those at the top of the show. The picture that you sent.
But you know what?
and
We could
That's how I got the 3 that I picked up this week.
Oh, you got 3 new
Because
ones.
I have
Eh?
that on my phone. I have that on my phone, and I just find a guy working in toys, and I'm like, "Hey, can you look up this number? Can you look up this number?"
Mhm.
And he's like, "Oh yeah, we've got 19 of those in the back.
Ooh, what you got?
Can you bring me 2?" You know, I mean, it's,
Hold on.
Don't tell me
Do
you got
those
Blitzwing.
numbers?
Don't tell me you got Blitzwing.
Question.
No.
Do those
no, I
numbers
picked up.
will work in
I'm
Canada?
sorry, you weren't here.
Nah, it's America only.
Only
I
American?
picked up Hot Rod, Skywarp, and Iguanas.
Oh, okay, yeah. I seen those too.
Still no luck on drag strip here. But yeah, that right there.
Yeah, we just put them on screen at the start of the show. We talked
Drag
about them
strip?
a little bit.
Yeah, it's back on the screen now.
Yeah, we haven't seen drag strip in Indiana yet. I mean, I've got a pre-order from Big Bad Toy Store, so that's my backup. If I can't find them here, then I'll eventually get them from them. But whenever something drops, I always pre-order 3 of them from Big Bad Toy Store, and then as I find them, I just go and cancel that order.
You know the funny part, Bill? That's my backup as well too.
Yeah.
Big Bad Toy Store.
Yeah, I usually pre-order stuff at GameSpot, but like GameStop, but often they're like really like late in their estimates of when things are going to ship. So I usually wind up finding them before they come out and then just canceling the pre-orders.
And Big Bad Toy Store is kind of the same way.
Yeah,
I've got 6 or 8 bots sitting there right now in my pile of loot waiting to come.
Damn.
I'm just,
I like that feature.
I'm just waiting to see if drag strip is going to hit there before I get them here, and then I'll just have them ship it all at once. That's the bonus. You get it all shipped at one time for one price.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
I like that feature.
Price again whenever And it happened to me when the Black Zarek Scorpionox dropped.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh yeah, send it now. And then a week later, 2 more pieces hit my pile of loot, and I was like, fuck.
Damn. I'm not gonna lie to you. I did find somebody sacred stash at the Target over the weekend.
Oh yeah, where they keep things like where people stick things in weird wrong sections so that they can save it for later.
Yep, I've
done
seen
that
a
few
drag
times.
strip. I actually seen one. Yep.
Gosh, that's something that like I don't like it when people do that.
tough noogies.
Yeah, like the most I've done is I've moved something to the back of an assortment if I knew it was going to come back later. But like I've never put something in like a different section.
Well, but that's funny. It's almost like being like half committing a crime, because it's the same thing where it's just like, you see a character and I'm like, okay, I got my money on Friday. I'm going to come back to that character. So, what's the difference of moving that same character to the back of others, or just putting it off in like the clothing section because you're going to come back and pay for it anyways?
Hold on, no, but hold on, wait a minute. The toys in the store, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if they have employees to go around the store and put things back, if they didn't put anything back, that's their problem.
Yep. Especially my Target. They don't reorganize anything. But my last day at that Target was Friday, and I said I would never come back in here ever again. And I had to say something, because I was like, okay, you guys never have anything in stock, but I see people just posting things that they're finding these figures. And then, like I said, I went all the way out to like 2 different other Targets. I found the drag strip. I found all kinds of Transformers.
Oh, look at the little He-Man. And I love it.
Yeah, that's a nice combination of like 3 different lines. That's a Masterpiece Hound, right?
It's Masterpiece Hounds. What else you got there? There's actually 4 figures.
You got Ravage, Hound, He-Man.
Studio Series Ravage. That's the little mini He-Man from like their little Masterverse mini line, right? Or is it like the
one's out of view?
Yeah, one's behind like He-Man.
Okay, I see him now.
Trying to get the focus.
Yeah, like I only see 3 where I am.
It's behind He-Man.
So Ravage is now working for Skeletor.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Couldn't see it because it was black on black. Oh, world's smallest hound, I presume.
Damn.
So are you trying to say Hound is righted himself?
Hey, it's happened in G1 before.
There's so many innuendos in that last 30 seconds.
Seriously. Go ride yourself.
Yes,
black
but,
on black.
I mean, we like to talk before about like what figures scale with each other. So it's one thing which is like to pick like a line, like you're going to collect the right mainline figures or the right Masterpiece scale figures, but it's also a lot of fun to pick figures that really don't fit together, and then you put them together in like a cool way. So I enjoy doing that.
Yeah,
Now,
that's
world,
what I literally did with getting Tiny Hot Rod to go with Star Convoy, because they're not meant to be in scale with each other, but it homages how the original came with a Micromaster, right?
Right.
I
Here,
got you.
let me get this screen again. I'll show you another example.
While we're doing that, TF Collect earlier said Road Ranger is awesome. Had the original GoBot. I rebought him recently.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's a great GoBot.
Mm-hmm.
So hard for me to get the focus here. Can you see who's in the car?
Not
Dodge
really.
Viper, but
that's an alternator, and that's Beastman and
Spike?
a Spike.
Yeah.
But I think that's a Masterpiece Spike.
So
There you
apparently Spike's being kidnapped by Beastman.
Looks like they're hanging out having fun.
that's some bestiality going on there.
I bet they is. I bet you they is.
Is that a Transformer alternator, or is that just a model car? I don't recall my alternators too well.
Yeah, no, it's sideswipe alternator.
Here's
You're
what
right.
I do with my world's smallest. Here's what I do with my world's smallest.
Ooh, nice.
Very good.
Yeah,
Very
that's
good.
Dude, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Nice.
That makes sense, yeah.
I have a question. How much do those world's smallest figures go for?
They're expensive.
Yeah, partially because they were already expensive, but also partially
I got
because they're
mine out
really
of a
old now.
quarter gumball thing.
Yeah.
What, $2? Sorry,
No,
you said quarter gumball?
They were a
Oh
quarter.
my goodness.
That's
Wow.
the world's smallest Transformers.
It's completely random. They were in the little bubble things. And you put two, well, actually they were 50 cents. You put 2 quarters in it and you turn it and the little bubble comes out. So it's completely random what you got.
Where
Guys,
was this?
Could we move to the States, guys? Honestly.
It was
Look. It's not everywhere you go in the States that you're getting $40 Transformers for a quarter, okay? That doesn't normally happen.
Where was this and
this
when
guy,
was this?
this
'Cause
was
these
at their
things.
grand opening. This was at their grand opening. They had a gumball machine that had about 20 of them in it, and he just put them in there to get people in the store.
Oh boy!
And it was called Fantasy Limited.
Boy,
Cool.
And it was a collectibles, toys, video game store, comic book store, Magic the Gathering store. They had just a little bit of everything. It's just nerd kingdom, man. It was beautiful.
Nice.
I loved it. And then me and the owner had a real big falling out, and yeah, it almost came to blows.
I was gonna say, when was this? Because I just checked the wiki. World's Smallest Transformers came out in 2003. So, like, this must have been a while ago.
Yeah, but the Hound was just released. Like they do new figures like totally randomly.
Oh yeah. Well, they must be third party, because I know that it was popular to do third party World's Smallest Transformers around that time.
Well,
Here's
I
a box.
don't know that that's what these are.
Yeah.
These were opened, and they put them in those little blister packs, those little bubbles.
Mhm.
And then if you got it and everything, you could ask them for the box that it came in.
Okay.
But do they transform?
Yes, they transform, but the box is completely in Japanese.
Okay, well here's what the box looks like.
Let me see.
That's the World's Smallest Transformer.
That's a third party one.
That's what it is.
Yeah, they're all. Yes, they are. To answer your question, they're all third party. There's no official World's Smallest Transformers.
No, there are. There was a line by Takara in 2003. It was mostly just the stock G1 guys. It's just that the third parties ran with it after the fact.
Oh, I was gonna say, because that ties into like the one conversation I wanted to have before, in terms of if you're trying to build, a scale accurate version of the cartoon within your toys, those characters, the world's smallest, would be perfect. I mean, when you look at them next to Triptychon as you have there, Bill, like that's how they should scale.
Mm-hmm.
So check this out. Spin. Let me get a full screen. So we're not set up over here yet, but here's Metroplex.
Right.
And there's a little baby Optimus. Stand up. Stand up, bro.
Which one is that?
We got a Starscream. We had look, the Decepticons are taking over now. Megatron.
Okay, now is that your world's smallest Megatron?
It's not. What these guys are actually are dollar store figures.
Oh yeah, those. Yeah. Oh yeah, those guys.
All right.
Oh, okay.
So these guys are perfect for this purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, look at that. That's pretty dope.
For the alternate modes, you should get those Jada Toys tiny little vehicle models that they do.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what? It's funny that you mentioned the dollar store, because I remember at the dollar store that we had over here, they had like those little Transformers with a big head and small body, and you can get them in a bag. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, they're called alt modes.
Yeah, I actually like those.
These?
Those are pretty cool. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, let me get Bill. There we go.
Oh, those are my clones. Yeah.
I personally like. I like a sophisticated look. Even you notice even like the G1 stuff, like even my cartoon stuff, I want it to look real world. So I'm not personally a fan of like the big head type of shit.
Hey, y'all see this?
I still like it.
Hey, there we go.
What do you have besides? What is that besides Ironhide?
That looks like a Robotech.
Yeah.
It's BattleTech. Well, yeah, this is actually a piece that was one of the pieces that was in the big law.
No, lost Bill.
This is the Archer. This is my favorite mech, and my buddy printed it, and he said he'd put it in my room, and I just now found it.
Wow.
Nice.
Those are the
I don't know if
original
you see it or not.
GoBots.
This print, the archer is flipping off the enemy.
I see it now.
Yeah.
Bill, we didn't get the story behind this figure because you cut out. Can you repeat it?
BattleTech was a board game, and Fasha got sued in the late 80s, early 90s because they had so many of their mech designs came from Robotech. They were just stolen from Robotech. And Fasha was in a big, long, hell, I think it was only like 5 or 6 years ago that it finally got settled.
Wow.
Forever,
Damn.
this thing was in court. And so they had to redesign everything. So all of these prints, now that Fasha actually went under, all of these prints are now free online. You can print your own mechs.
Oh,
You have
nice.
a 3D printer. And
Yeah, so
now
I do.
now
So
we're getting the
I got to get
classic
that.
mechs for that game.
Do you know the website or can we post it?
They're on Thingiverse.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, they're just free. You just look up the name of the mech that you want, and you'll find a free print of it and 5 or 6 different poses of it. But he made that one big for me. He made that one like quarter scale for me. And I was like, oh my God, it's the same size as my Transformers. And then he came here while my wife was here, and he's like, I'm going to put this up in Bill's room for him. And I just now found it. Because it's black. It's black, and it's against a black box, and so I didn't even notice it.
Spin full screen. There's my 3D printed.
Hell yeah! Get it, girl!
What is happening?
Take the trigger. Take the trigger.
I need to pixelate that for Facebook.
Listen, I'm showing you this 3D printed throne right here.
Right. It's the throne that we're looking at.
It's the throne. Just focus on the throne, gentlemen.
It is not for little kids.
Why
This is for
why
grown-ups.
why is Megatron holding the pink gun?
I think he's disarmed his opponent, and they're playing a game where you sort of have to perform some kind of action every time your opponent takes their weapon.
It's hide and seek. She's counting.
It's hide and seek. Right. He took her trigger. Now she's taking his.
Oh, I get it now. Look at Anthony's face.
All right, back to the child-friendly content right here.
Vicious activities and owl sit.
If you give me the screen, I'll show you my first printing.
Anthony's really looking into that.
No,
one
we saw.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
That's a 3D print, eh?
Yeah, 3 colors, 3 different feeders. And you can't, it's got a battery door on it. I've got it taped on.
Yes, it lights up.
You can take that off and put LEDs in it. And this is an iridescent blue, so it'll light up.
Gosh, I'd like one of those. It's the perfect thing to 3D print. It's not even that complicated.
Can I ask our American counterpart, how much does a 3D printer cost, like, in your neck of the woods?
Mine costs right at $900. And it's got an 11-inch by 14-inch tall build plate.
Okay, now I have a question for you. In material-wise, how much would it cost to have printed that matrix?
Okay, back when we printed it, it was $20 a roll for the 0.45 element, the PLA. And so because it's 3 colors, so it would be $120, between $60 and $120, depending on the grade of the element that I got, because it's 3 colors. Now, I could print all 1 color and then hand paint it, but I wanted to do it like that.
Ooh, that's an interesting take on it.
Now, here's the crazy thing is, now that the Give Me 5 store is out here, I've been finding element at the Give Me 5 store, so I'm paying $5 a roll for element instead of $45.
Ooh,
wow.
Nice.
So we should have done this in reverse order because Bill has a newer, fancier 3D printed matrix, but still, my 3D printed matrix, several years older, is still kind of dope. You can see 3 different materials, so same kind of idea. Pretty nice piece. Really, the center doesn't have a battery or anything, so replacing the center would be the move.
And how much did you pay for your 3D printer, D?
Man, this is years ago. I don't remember.
Yeah, and price would probably be drastically different. And it's funny because D, when you were showing your figures on the Metroplex, it just reminded me of someone else that posted a few months ago where they took a year and a half and 3D printed their version of Metroplex.
The
where
giant shelf one.
Well, not the shelf one. This is a different one because the
Another
shelf
one, eh?
Yeah, the shelf one has been shared around for many times, but someone else built another one, and like I don't know if it's masterpiece scale or which scale figures, but it's huge, and the figures.
It's huge, but you know what? It's not worth it. Like it looks beautiful, but like it's actually that's really not what 3D printing is for. You know, at least not at the level that we do it now. Like it's totally, even though it's cool, it's like it's much smarter to build Metroplex out of wood at this point. You know, the way that other one was done. It might make sense to 3D print, you know, like maybe the face, maybe the head. And that head does look really great. And those hands look really great.
Right.
You know, maybe do some items like that. But really where 3D printing shines is like you get the geometries that are just really hard to sculpt otherwise. Would take you a lot of effort. You know, but to do something on that scale, like a great big block, to 3D print like a box, you know, is just stupid. Like you're wasting time and money when you just throw that together out of wood or sheet metal.
Got it.
But anyway, so Spin, you got the 6 original 1984 mini bots right here, and so I'm experimenting with different ways of displaying these guys. So what do you guys think of this? You know, talking about mixing and matching different lines and scales. So on the bottom, you see in vehicle mode, those are all just the G1 vehicles.
Yeah.
But now for the bot modes, I've selected different figures. So I have different options for all these characters that I could swap out. And so what do you guys think about the scale that I've put together here by choosing not all matching figures? So these aren't all mainline. They're not all Legends third party, right? They're mix and match in order to get a particular look. What do you guys think?
I really like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
first of all,
that's perfect.
Oftentimes the G1 guys already had like flawless alternate modes, and if anything needed updating, it was usually the robot mode. So using the G1 figures to be the ones that are displayed in alternate mode and getting modern guys to be robot modes is like a brilliant way of doing it, I think. Yeah, and they already, at a glance, they look like they're in scale with each other, except for Bumblebee being noticeably small. Yeah, so like just from a squint test from over here, they do seem to match really well.
Yeah, Bumblebee does seem to be almost like half the size of the rest of them.
Yeah.
But what line is each of the characters if someone were to do this? So what line is Huffer?
So let's go through that second. But let me give you 2 other Bumblebee options and see what you like better. So I did that Bumblebee for a reason, right? So rather than have all the mini bots the same size, to me that's not logical because Huffer can pull this guy's trailer over here, right? So to me, the logic is, regardless of what we saw on screen, he should be bigger. Now, we know that Bumblebee and Cliff Jumper are effectively the same mold, but in fiction, Cliff Jumper is a tough guy, so I've got him as a relatively big dude, right? He's still a mini bot, but he's way bigger than Bumblebee. Bumblebee's supposed to be the little runt, so that's why I've got him there. But I could do this, right?
See, that looks a little bit better because he's still little. He's still smaller than Clump Chopper, to your point, D, but it still visually fits in there.
Okay, cool.
Funny, I was going to throw a technicality in terms of Huffer, because he's not supposed to be the size of Optimus. He's basically just like a shipping yard shunt, which is just a truck meant to move trailers around. Like they're not even supposed to be on the road.
Sure, but he still is smaller than Prime. right?
Yeah, like he's supposed to, like he is smaller than Prime regardless.
Right, but check it out. Like, so this is closer to the cartoon scale, right? Because notice how Prime is just a little bit bigger than everybody. He doesn't tower over them, you know, but he's big.
Well, no, I mean in one episode, like I mean when he picks up Bumblebee, like it's almost like you're picking up like a 3-year-old child in terms of size comparisons.
Yeah. So anyway, so let me. So you guys like this Bumblebee better in here? What about this one?
Andrew says he loves you.
Aw.
Told me to tell you.
So now I'm giving you guys a third Bumblebee option. Which do you like better of the three?
Well, I mean, I think he's like now like actually too massive compared to the other ones. So
yeah.
Definitely one of the previous two would fit better. Origin Bumblebee is an excellent figure though, and I do like the idea of like finding guys that don't change into VWs, because in this display that kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So here you're going to have both modes. You got a Cybertronian mode and you have your G1 mode. So, but here's what's interesting though. Now I love that you guys made this choice, even though my preference is like, where's a tiny Bumblebee? Yeah. So here here's the point that I want to make. So this is New Age Bumblebee. All right. This is the first New Age figure that they ever made. So that's the tiny Bumblebee that I had in there. All right.
Oh yeah, Flipper, right?
Yeah, Flipper, exactly. So now look at how perfect this Bumblebee is.
Yeah, it's
you know
nice
what I mean? Like you can't get better than that. The cleanliness of it, you know, like it's cleaner than Masterpiece Bumblebee, and he turns into a perfect VW bug, right?
Yeah.
Now compare that to this figure, which you said is a good figure. It is, but look at all that shit.
Salute.
Right?
Wow.
Well, it's in service of him changing into a spaceship, basically. So
yeah, I know you like to make excuses for Hasbro. Stop it.
Wow.
All right, now look at this one. Right, garbage. This is the word. This looks like.
Yeah, it's not a good figure. I used to have that guy.
It's trash.
I still have him.
Yeah,
it's trash. But when I put it, when I put it here, right? You guys pick this. When I smash it on the ground, you pick the worst figure as the best one for the display.
Yeah. I wonder if, because it's basically the same size. They just did a buzzworthy Bumblebee one, that one with him and Spike Witwicky. It'd be the same size as that guy and possibly like a slightly improved figure.
D, I got you here. You ready?
Yeah.
It's good from far, but far from good.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we're looking at it from a far away.
One or the other. Or we said that about her. Something like that.
Yeah, that's the figure I was talking about there. It's the same size as that one that you got on display, so it might possibly be like a slightly better. I mean, it's got its own quirks to it, and I don't own it, so I can't comment, but you know.
It does look good. It looks like an improvement. But look at the color. Look like the plastic quality still looks like, it's
garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't interested in grabbing him, so I can't comment. But yeah,
that's $34.99. What are you talking about? Yeah,
what?
Remember I showed the picture?
Oh yeah, well, forget that.
That's why I didn't pick it up. That's why I took the picture, because I was like, no one's gonna believe me if I tell our American counterparts over here that cost $34.99.
Yeah, so something that
I think I gave less than 20. I think I gave less than 15 for him.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was gonna say I don't have a mind for numbers, so I always forget what the prices are on things until I'm like actually there.
I didn't forget that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so no, but now based on perceived value, wow, nice.
Ooh.
That's see that top shelf. That's when you walk into the toy store back in like 86, 87.
Yeah, straight up.
Those are the retro. Yeah, those are the retro headmasters.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's an interesting set because those are like not the originals. Those are the Titans Return guys, but they stuck them in G1 boxes for that little sideline.
I wish they did that. I wish they did that for all these Earthrise figures.
Yes.
They should have done that for all these Earthrise figures. They would have sold so much more. I don't know why they didn't do that.
Yeah, because those are good-looking boxes.
They didn't consult the children of Primus.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, they
Yeah.
didn't consult
So-
anybody. They just did what they thought would be right.
Money.
I'm
Yeah.
just like, would us like telling them how to put together a line go well, because we have such competing interests against each other in terms of what we each like, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good point, Anthony. Like a lot of times people are saying, even on our show, we're guilty of it. People are saying, oh, they don't listen to fans. They don't listen to the fans. Like, so most of the time the answer is, yeah, well, it's money. It's dollars and cents. It's not like they don't know you would like some more paint apps or know you would like better materials. They just decided, look, they're going to make more money doing it the cheaper way. Yeah. But the other answer to a lot of our complaints, like why don't they listen to the fans, is exactly what Anthony's pointing out. Like there's a lot of fans with very different opinions, and they're doing a balancing act.
Yeah, I recommend, for example, because it comes up in this. There was that thing a couple weeks ago with the round table with the designers that was like closed camera only. Vangelis did like an hour-long video because he was in that call talking about like the stuff the designers were saying about like, you know, trying to do this type of thing. And I think it'd be an interesting thing to listen to in regards to what you're saying.
Yeah, totally. So now, but back to this discussion about the value of figures, or more what Spin has been talking about lately, and something we've been carrying, a thread we've been carrying over our episodes, is you know, scaling your collection. So can I get the full screen again? So with these,
Anyway.
So with these guys here, Spin was asking about the companies. So we can go through the companies, but really what I think is the more interesting question is the value. Looks like it's out of. Is that in focus or not?
Well, it's a little pixelated, but
I think it's because of the mirror that you have in the background, Dean. That's why.
Is that
giving that effect?
All right. So anyway, which of these bot modes, which of the figures look like the best figures to you? And the reason I'm asking the question is there's a question of like, what is the best figure in and of itself, right? So we were looking at Transistor versus the Deformation Space Blaster. And it's two different questions of what is going to look best in your display with your other figures versus which toy is going to be the most fun to play with, right? So that Flipper, right, this little guy is the best Bumblebee of all the ones that I showed you. But in the display, the cheapest, crappiest one is the one that looks better on the display. So for all six of those guys, we know that Bumblebee is trash. What do you guys think looks like the best of these figures and why? And what's the worst?
I've never seen that Gears before, but I'm really fond of,
Yeah.
I like bronze.
Yeah. So I was gonna say I've never seen that before, and that's a good-looking cartoon Gears. They really like nailed his like face, and a lot of third-party figures, which I'm presuming that is because I don't recognize it, tend to have problems with good-looking faces. So when I see a good-looking face on one, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
you know, Gears is not used to having people say that his face is good-looking, and it's making him feel grumpy.
Does his head swivel?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty neat.
Yeah. Which guy is this? It's not one I recognize.
Yeah, so you're right. It's Mechanic Studios.
Yeah.
I like the bronze.
Third party Mechanic Studios.
Yeah, and that's the Titan's Return Brawn, I believe I recognize.
Titan's Return Brawn. He's been upgraded. He's got the silver on his thighs. Right. So I did that. I did the extra detailing here. All the color that you see in here, aside from the Autobot logo.
And you
I
gave
added
him
that.
a weapon from some source.
Yeah, which I also. It's one of those. It's a Siege Seeker weapon.
Oh yeah,
and I just
Acid Storm.
Put some color on it. So yeah, this is a $10 US figure, right? When it came out, it was a Legend scale figure, and this was pretty cheap too. This was like $24. Mech Fan Store is one of the cheaper third-party companies. So this is definitely bang for buck, right?
So you want to know something, D? So that bronze, okay,
Yeah.
it's $25.
Yeah. Yeah, we know it's $1 million in Canada. You don't have to tell us that.
Damn.
No, I just want my American viewers to understand we're poor here in Canada. So please help us support our funds and go fund us.
I don't know. That's. Oh no! Is that no? That's not the
Upper.
Kingdom one, is it? That's. I don't think so. I might be wrong. I don't know that one too well. I don't think it's the Kingdom one.
No, definitely not Kingdom. Like this is way cleaner than the Kingdom, right?
Yeah,
So to your point, Anthony, I would expect you, based on your aesthetic claims on the show, you would have to pick this over the Kingdom one. Although the Kingdom one is nice.
Yeah, probably.
Right?
I mean, I didn't pick it up, and I do like how this guy looks.
Yeah, so this guy, and this is smaller than the Kingdom one. So he is also, problem with the Kingdom one is he is a bit big for a mini bot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, TF Collect from Facebook says the Huffer looks really good. I honestly really like the trash one, Titans Return Bumblebee. It has a fun transformation that's better than the Netflix Bumblebee that looks better.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair. And again, he's talking about like the toy element, right? So the toy element is different than a display element, and that's a fair critique.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of that cliff jumper?
That's a third party if I ever saw one, but I'm not sure which one. I do like that they haven't lost his essential element of being just car chunks. Like so many figures want to like reinvent the wheel on that. I like that it's just like the car chest and the car feet.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Did this fucker lose weight or what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
This
So
is finally limbs though.
So as you can
literally
tell, hold on. The as you can tell, he doesn't do legs in the gym.
Right. He skipped leg day. Skip leg
Just does
day.
his chest and his
On the
feet?
shelf, he looks like impressive, but then up close, I'm like,
Yeah.
what kind of dollar store
Oh
version
my
is
goodness.
You
this?
brought him closer, and I was like, "Oh,
Again, it goes back to what I said. Good from far, but far from good, right?
Completely.
Well,
It's
here's the
a
thing,
knock off
though.
the shelf.
Here's the thing, though. It depends on what you're going for, because remember being a kid, and
Yeah,
remember
with the
having this
Transformer.
car.
Yep.
And when
Penny
you turn
Racer.
this car into a robot, it looks exactly like that, except it's got no knees, no wrist swivel, and this head is not what you saw on the cartoon. That face, close, but this is his cartoon face. So what they did is they gave him the cartoon face, and they gave him full articulation, and everything else is exactly this guy.
Yeah, but you gotta go to time machine in both sense. Whereas like, back in '84 when we were kids and we got that cliff jumper, we're like, cool, hey, I got cliff jumper. I don't have any other versions to compare him to because he's the only one that exists. Now in 2022, you present this cliff jumper, and I'm like, why? Like 40 years and this, and like he looks like a dollar store version, although he's better than the original. It's remember between what was it, the Micromasters, where it's like they came out with the newer ones, but it's like the G ones were still better in terms of quality, even though the newer ones looked better.
Yeah. Well, so 2 points, Spin. Yeah, obviously it's true. Like, compared to some of the newer stuff, that's not what we're doing in Modern Masterpiece.
Right.
But this third-party figure, so number one, this is one of the oldest third-party figures. So this probably is from the early 2010s, maybe 2013 or 14, something like that. So it's before any of these other figures came out.
Right, which things have drastically improved over the years.
Right. So it really was. So the company that made that, which I don't even know what company it was, but the company, and they did them in all the different colors. Company that made that, literally, like, they were looking at these toys that we had, and they're like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if like the elbows actually bent?
Right.
That's what the logic was there. But the other thing, though, is I think we were talking about this last week. I think Anthony was talking about it. Is or maybe not. Maybe it's from some other discussion I was in. But remember that the Marvel comics in the first few issues, they were drawing the figures. Yeah, Anthony, were you saying this? They were drawing the figures like directly like the toys. So literally like Ironhide didn't have a head, right?
Yeah, because they didn't have reference material yet.
Right. And Huffer's, shoulders were attaching, at his ribs.
Well, and I mean, it's funny. Earlier in the show, we were speaking about Skids. How he's also mentioned in the Legacy line. When Skids came out in the comic book, if you look at his arms, he's drawn more just like the toy.
So here's my point. There's another, version of like a fantasy depiction of the Transformers. So even the box art, right? Even if you think about the Transformers box art that we all love so much.
Oh yeah.
Right? That's like the toys come to life.
Yeah.
So the reason why I like this Cliff Jumper, even though it doesn't have the aesthetics that we appreciate, is it's got this different kind of aesthetic. It does this different kind of nostalgia, which is turn that G1 robot. And so, remember this, right? These Diaclone figures, like think about what Brawn looked like in the, when you transform this figure, right? Doesn't look at all like, they look much less anthropomorphic. They look much less humanoid, right? Mm-hmm. So there's another way of conceptualizing the Transformers where they don't all look so much like people. And that's one of the things that they did with the cartoon is they made them look they try to make them look a lot like people as opposed to robots of all different shapes and sizes. Yeah. But that's not really what robots would be like, right? If you think about robots from another planet, they wouldn't be like humans all roughly the same height. They would be all different sizes and all different morphologies.
We don't know that.
Hold on.
There's speaking of Brawn, actually, go ahead.
I was about to say, speaking of Cliff Jumper and what you're saying about different sizes and stuff like that. So let's compare to Cliff Jumper Prime.
Yep.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so remember that, right? Remember the head?
Wait, hold on one sec. What is the alt mode? Is that a Dodge? Is that a Ford? Is it a
Dodge? The Dodge, right?
Dodge Charger.
Yep.
Yeah.
So look at his head and everything. Remember, and then Transformer Generation.
Yes, sir.
Which is basically the same thing, but look at his couple.
Same figure.
Right?
That's funny. That is funny.
Wow.
Right? So it's like I was just realizing what Dee was saying about time has passed, things will change and older stuff, whatever. But this stuff was literally made almost in the same year in a sense, and all they just did is give two different heads.
You know what? I'm going to ask you guys in terms of like different groups and stuff or conversations. Looking at that Cliff Jumper from Prime and knowing that The Rock was the voice for him and they made him a Charger, was there any similarity jokes between Fast and Furious, between the Rock being in both franchises? Franchises
I never thought about that.
And him being a challenger.
Well, the funny thing is that they remember in his wrestling persona, they used to call him, like, one of the nicknames was called he called himself the Brahma Bull, right? And so if you look at Prime, that's why he had the horns, like the bull horns on his
you gotta
his
be
hood.
kidding me, for real?
Yeah.
He's from Texas, man.
Yeah.
Nice.
You see? If you look, hold on, sorry. I grabbed the wrong one.
It's okay. It's all right. It's okay.
Here we go, the Prime one. But if you look at the
I remember that in the cartoon.
There we go.
Yeah.
See the horns.
Nice.
Yep.
Right. And so that was part of his little homage to his wrestling, one of his wrestling nicknames, right?
That's cool.
So, gents, I'm going to have to cut out a little early. I got an early day tomorrow, but I do want to get your opinion on something. And we're working on a new cosplay right now.
Ooh.
And I don't know if you all have seen the guy that has the oversized Soundwave cosplay, all made out of foam. It's really great.
You mentioned that last time.
TikTok. He's all over TikTok. His chest opens up. He's got a transforming laser beak in his chest. It's awesome. And he's on a set of 2-foot stilts. Ooh. I'm going to do something similar, and I want to get your all's opinion on this. I'm probably going to use old. I'm going to do Ultra Magnus.
Yeah, he already looks like a guy on stilts, so sort of proportionally. So that would definitely like fit the idea.
That would be very cool.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be happy to see the progress on that.
Well, what I'm asking is that the better Ultra Magnus to go by? This is my masterpiece, Ultra Magnus.
I think so.
Yes. Yeah, I would go with him.
I wouldn't go with Earthrise or anything like that.
Bill, you're asking like, what is the best sculpt to use? What is the best Ultra Magnus sculpt to use as a reference?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. I would say. I would definitely say
that. Did you see the one
that.
that I was showing? D, did you see the one that I was showing?
Yeah. It was a masterpiece. The only other, the competing option would be, if you want to look at images online, KFC has a new Ultra Magnus that's not out yet, but theirs might look better. Yeah. Did you hear me?
KFC's. I'm writing it down.
Yeah. KFC. Yeah. So KFC has a new Ultra Magnus that is coming out. So like, there's reference images out there that you can look at, but you can't buy the figure.
Damn.
You can only pre-order it.
All right, cool. Well, on that note, gents, I'm out. Yes. I'm up at 5 hours for work. So peace. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for letting me come back home.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Bill. Have a good night, buddy.
Have a good evening.
See you, gentlemen.
Take care. So you know what? Speaking of legacies, you guys were talking about that earlier, right? Do you think there's a big difference between RC's legacy?
Yeah, that's a huge difference. Yeah, hell yeah, it is.
Yeah, I'm not really interested in getting the legacy one just because it doesn't like look correct to my eyes. I have the second one. That's the first edition. I have the RID one, and like I'm just sticking with that one.
Yeah, because when I'm looking at the cover over here, it has like the pink and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like the legacy one. So I don't know. I'm not getting it because I got this, and it's the first edition.
Yeah, something I wanted to bring up earlier because you mentioned Braun, like how their G1 designs look non-human. Braun's toy design sort of makes him look like a 50s Space Invader because he's got the helmet and he's got the claws.
Yeah.
There's an early issue of the UK Marvel comic that leans into that because the plot of it is he gets into an accident and becomes like mean and hostile and starts like trashing neighborhoods and they got to stop him. And they did that because he looks like a 50s like evil invader robot with the helmet and the claws. So like there's stories that have used that as a setup.
I kind of like that. I kind of like that too. Like I do think they sort of lost something in the G1 cartoon in making them all sort of look like all those Autobots, you know, like there's too many of the scenes where they all just look the same height, the same size, you know? I would have liked to see more variety, like, because in the fiction and further on, you know, we do see more of that difference. But early in the cartoon, it's a little bit, you know, it's like they're just people, right? So like they're just humans.
Yeah, you want to see variety? Watch season 3.
Yeah, it changed as it went on. I'm more so talking about it's mostly season 1. When they first started the cartoon, they sort of ignored the differences in scale, you know, with the exception of Devastator.
Well, the funny thing is that even the movies does the same thing to a certain degree.
Like here's what I mean. They didn't play the mini bots as really any different size than the main Autobots.
Yeah.
Right. They, you know, only Bumblebee was treated as smaller.
Yeah, I see that. It's the same thing even in the movies too. Like if you look at Jazz, You know, you have Optimus Prime holding him in both of his hands. And if you look at the other, and he wasn't a mini bot, and he was treated like a mini bot in my eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you mean Megatron when he tore him apart?
Well, he tore him apart, but then after that, even what's called Optimus Prime at the end of the movie, you see him holding Jazz. Oh, poor Jazz, right?
Okay.
And
look, I don't remember. I blocked those movies out of my head. Those movies are trash.
You know what? Okay, how many minutes we have left? It's 10:30 because I know we wanted to cut it short, but we haven't really touched upon about the movie because obviously there haven't been any news on it, right?
Yeah.
For whatever we've talked about already, there's no other updates. But you know, I just wanted to talk about a little bit about it, give us our own opinion. Like, my whole thing is this: like, I'm glad they did a bit of a soft reboot or the whole reboot. But what do you guys think of the whole purpose of having the Beast modes or the Beast War guys element into the movies? Like, I don't see a connection at all.
Well, I mean, the outside of the universe connection is that it's time for some 90s nostalgia instead of the 80s nostalgia. Trying to get people my age in.
You know what?
See,
Keep
there,
going.
there it is again. There it is again. There it is again.
There's
yep.
You know, Calvin and I.
There it is again. People don't read comic books. They don't read anything. They going off the movie theories. Don't you do it.
Listen, Calvin. Listen, Calvin. I've had enough of your disrespecting the executives on this show. All right, I'll have you know, Michael Orlandi always reads.
Don't you know I pay for executives every day?
Listen to me, Calvin. Listen to me, Calvin. Michael Orlandi always reads the first and the last page of any book that he gets his hands on. All right.
That's right.
So,
but you know what, Calvin and I think we're gonna start our own little show called Conspiracies in Transformers.
I keep saying this over and over again. They're time travelers. They cross paths. The future into the past. They got to go back and change things for the future. I keep saying this
I can relate. I had to do the exact same thing last week.
I bet you did. I bet you did.
See, and it's funny between the two because initially when the Netflix version came out, I'm like, how are we jumping from like the G1 storyline and then like next week we're into Beast Wars? Like, we've just kind of skipped, you know, the entire storyline. How they explained it, if the movie kind of works on that same premise, it makes sense and it works.
So what you're just saying right now, okay, is kind of you took a little bit of my thunder because I was about to say, do you have any feeling or any suspicion that the movie somewhat is going to probably take some cues from the Netflix?
Yep.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
I think it's sort of the other way around in that because they were already writing a movie with Beast Wars stuff in it, they started putting it in other media as part of the lead up to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, whatever, tomato, but the whole point is there's going to be elements in it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, look, we've been talking about, like, you mentioned this many episodes ago. Both you and Anthony have talked about it's been a brand strategy now for Hasbro. You know, many years ago, they decided that they're going to try to integrate everything and do this aligned continuity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they know that G1 sells better than the other Transformers brands. And they know, and previously they were keeping all those fictions separate. And then they made a marketing decision of like, let's try to integrate it all. Maybe they were inspired by the success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm not sure. But whatever their reason was, they decided they were going to start integrating that. And so this is just more, you know, of that umbrella, you know, that we're seeing them do, right? And in lots of Transformers media, we have examples of this where they take storyline themes or things that keep happening. Sometimes it's annoying the way they're recycling these plots, like Bumblebee losing his voice and dumb stuff like that.
Yeah.
But other times it's interesting stuff, like the time variance and time travel. You know, everybody likes that kind of stuff, including, you know, the goofy guys on this podcast seem to fall for those kind of plots all the time. So so that works out.
That's the for Calvin.
And as far as, do I want to see Beast Wars in with the G1 characters? Like, look, I'm happy to, and I'm sure you'll all agree. It's, if you ask me, like, what do I want to see? Like, if I'm picking the characters, it's not going to be Beast Wars. But like, given that that's not the case, I just want to see a good movie. And like, these Bay films have been trash, and the models, the animation models, which did get better over the Bayverse movies.
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, we don't have to rehash all the problems with those models. So if we have good-looking robots, if they are true to the overall Transformers fiction, then I'm happy.
I agree, but I also agree with what you just said. A good story.
Yeah, it's the writing. It's always in any production, any movie. It's writing. That's the basis that many people, companies seem to forget. Like, I mean, you could have look at movies where it's like they put in like what 20,000 to produce the movie. And you could tell like their props are just stuff they found in their house. But the writing what made it a classic that people will keep going to, because they paid attention to they paid attention to the intelligence side of what people are paying for, not just throwing bombs and nonsense.
No, every 2 seconds you see some kind of explosion, right? Ooh.
Right.
And some guy in the background constantly screaming, "Bee!" Right?
Bombs and Nonsense is an excellent title.
It's funny. It's like a lot of times I use music analogies in describing things. Movie producers, with the exception of Spielberg and maybe like a few others, their job is basically make stars of the stars in the movie, and they take the role in the background. Whereas you think of music in a sense, the producers and the DJs were always in the background. The main singers or rappers are the stars. They go in the foreground till you get into the mid 90s, where it's like the producer and the background guy like Puffy or Suge, they now want to be the stars and up in the front. So kind of the same thing happened with Michael Bay, where I never knew of Michael Bay. And when Bad Boys came out with Martin and Will Smith, I had no idea who Michael Bay was, because Martin and Will are great actors. They sold the movie. Who cares who the producer is? Now, years later, it's like, well, now you've got Transformers, but really it's all about Michael Bay. It's not about the Transformers. So in a sense, with better writing or just a better mindset, you focus on the characters in the movie, not hoping that the characters will sell as say like Will and Martin did. Because actually, let me rephrase.
Hold on a second. Spin.
The reason Bad Boys.
Spin. Just one quick thing. Bad Boys may be entertaining, but that is a trash film.
But it's entertaining because of Will and Martin. Like, when you look at the writing and the plot and everything, it's no different than Transformers. It's just a rehashing of a classic, bad cop versus bad guy villain type thing. It's not overly complex or intelligent, but Will and Martin sold the movie. Michael Bay kind of brought that same element into it, but then he just didn't realize, well, now you've got animated characters on the screen. He's trying to use the animation to sell it, but at the same time trying to sell himself, and it doesn't work. Whereas like with Michael Bay, he wasn't selling himself. Like, no one knew.
I think you miss it.
Hold on, I'm gonna wrap it up right here.
Point.
Wait. Yeah. It's like Mike's pulling the Shook Knight right now. And I feel like there's an East Coast, West Coast happening right now. Wow. You know what I mean? Right? If you don't want producers, in your movie, in your video, dancing around, right? You come to Desperado.
Exactly. Exactly.
Look, Suge Knight has some good quotes. He's a fucking idiot, but he has some good quotes.
Exactly.
That was a Murder Prime moment there.
It was a deep cut.
he put the music analogy and the DJ analogy in there, so I had to mention.
So Calvin and Anthony haven't answered the question. Calvin and Anthony still got to answer the movie question.
Hold on,
what's the question?
For the question, I was
let Spin finish.
Transformers should go in the hands of the director who does the Thor movies.
Taika Waititi?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, he would have fun with that.
Oh yes, that would be a movie.
No, I disagree. Christopher Nolan.
Wait, as a producer?
Totally different. I like those are two opposites of a spectrum, like in terms of tone.
Yeah, exactly. That's the movie I want to watch. That's the Transformers movie I want to watch.
Okay, so you want to watch
Nolan Transformers.
Okay, so D wants Murder Prime kind of movie. I understand where Mike's coming from, where Spin's coming from, because if you look at Thorn, his whole Love and Thunder is like based all 80s kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right, and it's quite funny, so I get where Spin's coming from.
Yeah,
I would like to see something in the middle.
Yeah,
and that's why I actually liked Transformers.
Yeah, so Michael Bay, right in the middle.
Yeah. Yep. A little bit of a killing, and a little bit of a joke while I'm killing somebody. I love it, man. Mm-hmm. That's why I like Pulp Fiction.
I was just gonna say, bring Joe Pesci in with Optimus, and then you gotta move.
Joe Pesci should voice Rat Trap, straight up.
No, hold on. Yep. No. Orlani is 100% right. It should be Tarantino.
Thank you.
Ooh.
That's in between. Tarantino is smart and totally ridiculous.
Yes.
Christopher Nolan is smart, gritty, dark, but intelligent, and that's it. Whereas Tarantino, he's gonna like homage. Look at Foxy Brown, how he did that Foxy Brown. He's gonna homage the blaxploitation, right? But do it. It's gonna be funny as hell. So that's what he did there. He could homage Tarantino as the Transformers director. That would be the dream director for Transformers. And I'm not a Tarantino supporter.
And Jazz and Blaster would kind of get a bit of a feature in there.
I just had like a scene in my head of like two Autobots driving down a road. One was like, you know what they call Optimus Prime in Japan? What? Convoy. It's just like the beginning of Pulp Fiction.
This guy, that's some crazy shit.
It's a Royale.
Which of you guys will get this reference? He could do one of these jokes. Does it say dead Decepticon storage on my garage?
You see, exactly. Just put some thought into it and look at that. Like, we're watching this like 20 times now.
That would be good, man. If they did that, that would be, man. Tarantino, let's get a petition going.
I don't know why, but I imagine that would be Red Alert just because he's high strung. He'd be the one going on that.
Wow.
Yeah. You bring him to Red Alert's house, right? To do something with the bodies.
Nope.
And then you can stick him with a needle in the chest, and there you go.
Nope.
Trying to calm him down.
I'll tell you what. I want to see Insecticons eat people. That's what I want to see. I don't care what nobody say. I just want to see Insecticons and Terracons eat people. That's all I want.
And while that's happening, one of the characters could be voiced by Samuel Jackson and be like, what would he be saying? Like, say something one more time. Just an Autobot just going crazy in that scene.
Okay. What famous actors do you want to play what characters? So hold on. Samuel Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Blaster.
Samuel Jackson as Blaster.
He could be Blaster. I think you can find a better one.
Hold on. You know what? Hold on. I agree with Calvin to a certain degree because just his name alone, Blaster.
It would work.
And then
think about it. Okay.
Hold on. Okay, so let's go around in order, but you only get to pick one at a time. Say one actor, one character. All right. So Calvin's already gone. We'll go in any order, but one at a time. You got to wait for everybody else before you go again. Go ahead. Anybody who's got one.
Well, I was going to say I got a message from Jess because she heard me say Joe Pesci for Rat Trap. She sent me a text and said no, Steve Buscemi for Rat Trap.
Right. I remember that from before. Yes.
Either one of them. Either one would be good.
Just that has to have that correct level of like angry little man energy.
Yeah, and whichever one you decide against, he can be Huffer.
Yeah, actually, that's a good way of doing it.
All right, Orlando, you got one? Spin.
Oof. I don't know. For some reason, I was thinking Ray Romano as Starscream. Ray Romano as Starscream.
Ray Romano.
I don't know why.
Who's the actor? I don't know who the actor is.
Ray Romano. Everybody likes Raymond.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can see that.
You know, if you do that, then you have to bring Triptychon in the movie and get his brother to play Triptychon again.
Yeah.
Who's the guy in Fargo? Who's the main guy in Fargo?
Not Steve Buscemi.
Yeah. Oh, it is Steve Buscemi. It is Steve Buscemi. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Steve Buscemi could also be Starscream.
Well, I was gonna say let's throw
if
this
Gilbert Gottfried hadn't just passed away, Gilbert Gottfried should be Starscream.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Yes.
Oh, Howard. What's that Canadian comedian's name? Howie Mandel. Howie Mandel as Starscream.
Oh, where are you pulling these from?
No, think about it. Think about it.
Wait a minute. I still say Robert De Niro as Megatron.
You need a heavyweight.
You talking to me?
Okay, who's playing DJ Premier there at Gangstar?
I was assuming it was you, but it must be Calvin.
A tiny bit of music in the background, if we weren't going to get copyright striked, would sound nice. Just like behind the discussion, just low enough.
Yeah.
There are a couple people on the podcast who own a bunch of music. Original music.
I was going to throw this out there that if Samuel L. Jackson is Blaster, who would play Soundwave?
Just because of my brain is there, I said John Travolta instinctively.
John Travolta as Soundwave. Because think about him in that. What was the movie with him and Nicolas Cage?
Face Off.
Face Off.
Although James Earl Jones wouldn't be a bad Soundwave if we wanted some gravitas.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow. Yes.
Think about if we're doing the Christopher Nolan Transformers, it's James Earl Jones.
Ooh.
Yeah. Right? Because everything is dark. And if you had to replace Peter Cullen, let's say Peter Cullen, obviously we want Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime. Mm-hmm. If he died, who would we put in our Christopher Nolan Transformers as Optimus Prime?
We'll definitely go with Nicolas Cage though.
What?
Yeah.
Liam Neeson. Yeah. So gets it. For sure. For sure. That is genius. Whoever that is, she's a genius. Could be my mom. I don't know. Could be my mom.
Because I am Optimus Prime. I've landed here from the planet Cybertron.
I have a certain set of skills.
Exactly. No. Look, if it's money,
I've counted all the from Star Wars.
If it's money you want, I can tell you I don't have any. But what I do have is a very particular set of skills. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. You see, I transform into a tractor trailer, and I will murder Prime your punk ass. I will run your ass over. I am the king of the road. I am Optimus Prime.
Hold on.
That's a conversation for him and Motormaster.
Yeah. Christopher Walken as Shockwave.
Oh, dude, yes.
Wow.
Who's got a Christopher Walken impression?
I cannot. But I'm just imagining like trying to call him on the video screen from Cybertron, about whether he's coming back.
Oh man, that would be
Megatron.
Megatron.
That
You
would be
see
good.
that I try to bring you people over here. It ain't working.
It's been 4 million years.
It's been for
You don't return my calls. It's lonely over here. I'm lonely.
See, as long as we don't get
we need
William
more cat
Shatner as
bells.
Shockwave. But Megatron, the planet, it's empty.
Okay, hold on. I got one.
Megatron,
Matthew
we need more
McConaughey.
cowbells.
Matthew McConaughey, Ironhide.
I'd use him as like, I don't know, Sunstreaker or something. Somebody who's vain.
Yeah.
Somebody
No
who's what?
tracks.
No,
tracks.
Beachcomber, because Matthew McConaughey is a chill guy, and so is Beachcomber.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
He doesn't work as Ironhide.
Alrighty. What do we got?
Hold on.
Here?
How come he does not work as Ironhide?
I don't know,
He's
because
chill.
Ironhide's
He's
like
a
a big
surfer.
tough guy. Ironhide is not chill. He has no chill.
The Rock should
Well,
be
obviously,
there.
obviously the Rock's
He's
gonna
got
be
a
Twitch
southern
jumper.
draw. What about Kevin Spacey as Ironhide?
No, you know who's gonna be Ironhide? Stone Cold Steve Austin. Because that's
He
the
has
bottom
right
line.
accent.
Okay.
Right accent.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. You guys know we're talking about voice acting, right? Not putting on a
Yeah.
costume and playing the character.
No, I get
Right.
that.
He can motion capture him.
Stone Cold has that voice of
Yeah,
the.
no, he does. He
you
does.
know.
That was good. It's
Right.
good. It's good. But Kevin Spacey, like, think about Kevin Spacey doing his southern accent in House of Cards,
Right.
right? That would work as Ironhide.
If he's
No,
allowed to be hired.
No,
Well, that's a whole different question.
No, I like Stone Cold for Iron
No,
Man.
I vote for Stone Cold. That's a good. But you know what? Stone Cold goes in the Tarantino version, which we agree
Yes.
we want to see.
Yeah.
But the Christopher Nolan version, that's Kevin Spacey. We're dealing with serious actors here.
No, I get that part.
Right.
And then Hot Rod would be John Cena.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, like no.
No, I'm
Whoever
kidding.
said Nicolas Cage,
That was me.
like Nicolas Cage can be one of those type of characters. Nicolas Cage, maybe he could play Springer, maybe he could play Hot Rod, but no way he's going to be Optimus Prime.
I don't know, man. Look at Kelvin. Kelvin's like in deep thoughts right now. He's gonna come up with a banger.
Hot Rod's got to be someone young.
Or get Josh Brolin to play
Chris
Megatron.
Pratt.
Chris Pratt is Hot Rod, hands down, no question. Chris Pratt. I was thinking about Chris Pratt already. I'm surprised, Anthony. I'm surprised you didn't say that, because if somebody's going to play Anthony, like if somebody, like when they do the Children of Primus movie, I assume Chris Pratt will play Anthony.
Interesting.
For some odd reason, we got to get Mark Wahlberg in there. I don't know who.
Oh, you just reminded me of something I wanted to say about the movies.
Okay.
There's something really stupid, really absurd about all the Transformers movies, the Bay movies that nobody talks about.
Okay.
And it's really ridiculous, but it goes over everybody's heads just because of all the other more overt ridiculous things that you miss this. But part of the critique of the Michael Bay films, as we all agree on, is that they're films about these human characters with Transformers as supporting cast, as opposed to the other way around, right? And that's what Transformers is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Now, in addition, and part of that is for money, because like it costs them less money to animate, these actors than the Transformers. But what goes along with that in making an action film, and here's the thing, spin back to what you were saying, like what Michael Bay is known for, what he gets paid for is action, right? And so what they're banking on is people do not care about the stories. People are not paying that much attention. It just needs to be passable. And really what you need is shock and awe for the senses, right? That's what Michael Bay does. That's what he gets paid to do. So he makes these action films. So to Michael Bay, like there's no difference if there's turtles there that are ninjas, or if there's robots that turn into vehicles, or if it's some black dudes that happen to be cool. One of them was a rapper and one's a comedian, whatever. It's all the same thing to him. It's just like explosions and action, right? And let's show some California girls, right? That's his shtick. But now here's what happens in that. Because they're all action films, the lead character, whether it's what's the guy's name who played Spike? Wiki?
Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf.
So whether it's Shia LaBeouf or whether it's Mark Wahlberg, right? Now, think about this. No other roles that those guys have ever played is similar in just about any way, right? Those guys are always cast as different characters. But when you put them in Transformers, even though one is playing Cade, one is playing Spike, in those movies, they automatically transform into fucking Spider-Man. If you look at the moves that they are doing in the action, all of a sudden things get wild, and they have superpowers. They're jumping over cars and doing rolls and ducking things, and then shooting guns that are made for Transformers,
busting through glass without getting cut up.
It's totally ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. It's far less believable than space robots that change their size, randomly. Like, it's so absurd that these guys could all of a sudden be Snake Eyes, right? Or be Spider-Man.
And they all have the same catchphrase.
Which is?
Can I show y'all a picture? Can I show y'all a picture what I think about Michael Bay movies when I watch them?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Go ahead.
Give him a full screen. Let's get a full screen.
Yeah. Wait. And there we go.
Why is it the second stringers from Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah. You see, just look at the facial expressions. That's what I look like when I watch a Michael Bay movie.
Yeah. Well, correction. That's what three of us. That's what it looks like when any three of us watch a Michael Bay movie.
Oh my God! Oh.
Well, I mean, it's always that one Hollywood thing, where certain characters, like, they just walk up to a motorcycle and they automatically know how to ride a motorcycle. There's never a reference that they knew of this, but they just automatically know they can do it.
So TF Collect on Facebook says, all these films with animated characters have to involve humans in order to make them relatable to the general audience. It just has to be that way. But Stephen Cable Jr. has said it's going to be less human-focused in the next movie. So I'm gathering from TF Collect's comments that Stephen Cable Jr. is the director. Is that right?
Yeah. He did Creed 2,
So what I want to say about this is, I'm not criticizing that there should be some human characters. That's exactly what Spike's role was in the original G1. So that's totally fine. But the thing is, if you're going to have him jumping through glass and not getting cut and jumping off a building and just hanging out with the army guys and jumping out of their helicopters with them, then you got to give them a backstory, right? Like in Born Supremacy, they create a backstory. If you're going to have a character that has superhuman abilities, you need a backstory to explain it. And the backstory that, I'm a crazy inventor, that doesn't work. Right? I'm a goofy college kid, that doesn't work.
They all have parkour training.
Oh, good point.
Don't you hear them every time when they're jumping over the cars and they're like parkour?
Damn.
That's what,
that edits.
Think about it. If you watch Dark Side of the Moon.
Well, it is par for the course when we're talking about Michael Bay films.
Think about it. If you look at Shia LaBeouf in Dark Side of the Moon, and he's there grabbing one of those pillars against the other human over there, Dylan. Did you see all those parkour moves that he made?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. It's so crazy. So crazy.
And he blew up Starscream's head too, that with the bomb and all that. And his arms, look how strong he was. His arm didn't rip off when he was like on that cable, being swinged around.
Like they have, as a part of
Spider-Man.
most of the films, like actual military characters. I'm surprised they don't give those scenes to them because they have like some fictional justification for it.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Well, you know,
so it's just the point is that again, it comes down to dollars and cents. Like it's not like they don't know that like the writing in those movies is terrible. It's just that they don't prioritize it because they figure people are going to pay the money and go there, and they're putting the money into the animation and the explosions. And it's a bad decision because they make shitty films, you know. Wow. And like look at and now some people say, okay, well, whatever, that's commercialism. But look, the Christopher Nolan Batman films, those were commercial ventures. And they're also incredible works of cinematic history. So it can be done.
Yeah.
And it can be done. And it can be done with a brand. Like, think about this too. Like, people might say, oh, it's Transformers. Like, it's not supposed to be something serious. But Batman, right? That's exactly what people said about superheroes before superhero films became a thing.
Well, there's I mean, if any of you know the movie WALL-E, basically there's only human involvement in the movie, I believe, the beginning and near the end, and the entire movie is focused on just the life of this robot and the robots around him, and it's a successful movie.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you think? So my question to you is that what do you think the theme is going to be for this other Transformer movie that's coming up? Because for me, Bumblebee felt like it was like almost like an E.T. Spielberg kind of movie.
It's a good question. We know it's starting in Chicago, and then they go to Peru to dig up old robots. And what does that sound like? I almost feel like Indiana Jones a little bit, just from that pitch.
Right.
But that's just me pulling it out of thin air.
Well, it sounds like to me it's like the I don't know if you've seen the show Titans Return. when they had to go underground, and you found Optimus Prime was the protector of I think it's like the artifacts. So in this movie, it's gonna be based off the artifacts, but at the same time, they're gonna have to come across the Beast Wars characters and the G1 characters, and that's what's gonna happen. Because, like I said, it's gonna be one of them plots where something's gonna end up in the hands of one of the G1 characters. That's basically what it is. These artifacts.
I'm optimistic about the film. I mean, I think that sounds cool. What you just said sounds cool, and like, it's not like they are aware that these Michael Bay films were,
trash.
Trash. They know that. They know that, right? They made their money. They were commercial successes and they were critical failures, and that's like everybody knows that. And so I think that they're responding to that, right? They're obviously they've got their money on their mind. Obviously, they're trying to sell the brand and all these different characters, but like they are trying to. It's obvious from what we've seen so far that they are trying to take all the criticism into account. It's just, Orlati, to your point about like, yeah, but it's mixing Beast Wars and G1. The thing is, you always run the risk when you try to please all different people, like lots of different people with lots of different opinions. You can end up, pleasing nobody, right? So that is the risk that this film clearly is running. They're walking that tightrope. But I'm optimistic about it. Like, it sounds like they're on the right track. They're not rushing it, which is good so far. And so my only question to you guys is, do we know from this director? I haven't done any of the reading, right? So this is all on you guys who, Anthony, have been doing the research. What do we know about this director? Has he done any films that we collectively know, or that would give us some insight into the skills that he would have to pull this off?
I was going to say he did Creed 2, like I said, which I really enjoyed.
Did you actually read up on him, because he's an actual Transformer collector, and he also reads the comic books, and that's why I was saying do your research before you jumping to those conclusions because he actually stated that he collected Transformers as like he loved the G1 and also Beast Wars.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. I love that.
So,
You know,
so
I always hated when I was a kid. Did this ever bother you guys? Like, I can't even remember what movie I saw this for, but so many times I've seen movies or I've seen interviews. People are like, I never even heard of this character. I never even knew. The guy who played Thor didn't say this, but just to illustrate, like, I never heard of Thor, and then I was like, well, I auditioned for the role, so I became Thor. And then apparently it's a big thing, and now everybody wants me to sign these autographs, and I'm like, I guess he's cool. But it's like, you know, I hate that when there isn't that respect for it. So it's really cool to hear that the director was a collector. I mean, that gives me, you know, and I think that would give anybody, like in any kind of fiction, you want to know that the people behind it are people who believe in it, not people who just stumbled across it and it's just a job.
Okay, so going back to what Calvin was kind of saying and answering a little bit, like, you know, they're doing this whole time traveling multi-universe kind of thing, which is, you know, almost like the copy of Marvel, because Marvel does it first and everybody else, you know, kind of copy it. Like DC was doing the same shit too, right? So have anybody seen the series Moon Knight?
Moonlight?
Moon Knight.
Oh no, I haven't watched it yet.
No, nobody. Oh.
I read the comic books.
Yeah. So okay, so it's almost like Indiana Jones kind of Marvel shit. I can't even go into it because you guys didn't watch it, man. Anyway,
you know, a common friend of ours, he's a fan of Moon Knight. He's mentioned it.
Yeah, I got a whole bunch of comic books from them as well too. But it's almost Indiana Jones, Batman kind of series, right? Moon Knight is like a Batman figure, but they're also collecting artifacts as well too, right? So based on what you were saying, Calvin, so are you saying that or are you thinking there's going to be a lot of, this time around with this movie, there's going to be a lot of artifacts that they're going to be trying to find?
Yep.
And if they're looking for these artifacts, what are these artifacts for?
That like it leads back to the same thing, Unicron, which makes no damn sense. And I'm just getting sick and tired. Why don't they just do one on the council? These pretenders. Now that was set the stage for something better
and different.
Well, they had one pretender transformer in the Michael Bay universe over there.
Yeah, no.
You talking about that chick?
Yeah. Like, come on, let's be politically correct here now.
But I mean, the artifacts have existed since the G1 cartoons and the G1 comics. Like, there's always been artifacts.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you thinking that they might steal a page from Transformer Prime?
Dig up a Star Saber in the middle of that temple.
Like I said, just go back and watch the Power of the Primes. Go back and watch that cartoon series, because they talked about the artifacts and they talked about the 13 Primes.
Mm-hmm.
Because of Solus Prime, she also has an artifact that helped to build weapons. And you got to keep it in mind, like all of these artifacts, they do different things. You got the art of combination. That's an artifact that any Autobot or Decepticon can combine with each other.
Okay,
it's so many.
So now, so part of the movies we all know it's in Peru, right? And obviously you have the temples there. What artifact do you think? If it is artifact, so everything we're seeing is obviously hypothetical. What artifact do you think will fit that scene?
The combination. That
Enigma combination.
Yeah, the Enigma combination. That's it.
Yeah, because there's so many artifacts, and it's like now looking into this discussion, they've done a better job in recent years in series explaining all the artifacts than they did from than they did in the G1 cartoon, but at least in the G1 comic book, they had a storyline behind all of the artifacts. Whereas like in the cartoon, it just showed up for an episode and disappeared, never spoken again.
Right.
What about you, Ann?
Gosh, the Beast Wars fan in me is like, there was this whole story arc on the Beast Wars show about a group of aliens like monitoring the planet and leaving tests behind.
The Vok?
Yeah, the Vok. I would love it to be something related to those, especially because like Stonehenge in Beast Wars was a thing of theirs, So let's maybe something they left behind. Maybe stick the other golden disc in there, not the Voyager one, the alien golden disc that was a big part of Beast Wars' story.
I was actually thinking the same thing as well too. That the whole golden disc.
Yeah, not this one.
Yeah.
With the alien symbols on it.
Yep.
And they all pertained to one of the tests they left behind for like the burgeoning species on the planet, and the Transformers kept accidentally stumbling on them. So yeah, let's stick this in that temple. Let's go in a different direction. Let's bring something else in from that show.
Yeah.
And so, what do you think the end game is going to be for this movie line? So, okay, so
Scourge.
Sorry?
Scourge, and that's the worst thing you ever could do, because now you got the fleet of Unicron or the Herald Unicron, so there's got to be some time travel involved. That's the worst thing you ever could do.
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be time travel. This is not in continuity with the Michael Bay movies, so Unicron in the center of the Earth is not a guaranteed thing.
Right. Yeah, but why would you make Scourge the bad guy? And like I just said, it makes no sense to me. I'm sorry. Like, literally, I think the bad guy should be a new enemy like Jax's. It could be a different version of Lockdown. It could be a different version of Shockwave, Soundwave, any other character, like an evil character, masterminded character besides Megatron.
Double Dealer.
Nope.
Scorponok.
Yep.
Yeah, like
Black
Marvel
Zero.
Yeah,
Scorponok.
You know what I would like to see? This guy right here.
Sky Shadow.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes, right there. Yeah, Overlord.
Overlord.
Right, Overlord. Yes.
There we go.
What about Straxus?
Yep. Any one of those could have worked just fine. Any one of those could have worked.
You know what? Straxus would have worked in a Michael Bay film.
Yeah, I would
the way
also
he looks,
point out that according to reports, this is not Generation 1 Blue Scourge. This is Robots in Disguise Scourge, Black Optimus Prime, the character that sometime would later become known as Nemesis Prime, but they already used him, so they're going by his Robots in Disguise name. So this is Evil Optimus Scourge. So it's something else.
Oh, okay. Well, like I just said, they need to explore different revenues.
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard rumors now Blackbird is supposed to turn to Black Narachnia. And I hope that doesn't happen in the movie. Mm-hmm. I hope not.
Well, Nightbird's going to be in it. I'm interested to see that.
That's what they're saying. She's supposed to transform to Black Narachnia. That's what there's. I think she's a triple changer.
That would be interesting.
So who knows?
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I got to get going myself. I got work in the morning. Yeah.
It's time to wrap up. So,
yes.
Anthony?
Yeah, quickly give us the rundown before you leave.
Monday, Hot Rod. Well, Monday, tomorrow. Lots of pictures with Star Convoy. There's my cat. Get her in frame. Yes, this is Hot Rod. See? Friday, a non-bot review, and I'm going to keep it as a surprise, but it's something that I think would be a very good idea if it were brought over to Transformers, because there's a story behind it. It's not something that I'm usually into, but the narrative of its creation made me interested. and you'll find out what the heck I'm talking about on Friday.
Gee, I
Ooh.
see. You want to know what's going to be all about, Joe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's
so
it?
you can find those on. Yeah, that's my next two things. That's what I don't plan that far ahead. I'm doing something else on Monday. I haven't figured out what yet. I'll figure that out during the week.
We gotta put him to the grind, man. Like he's getting lazier. We gotta put him to the grind. Let's go.
Just go play the lottery, man. Just go play the lottery. That's all I can tell you. Just go play the lottery.
All right. Yeah, and you can find these on childrenofprimus.com.
Childrenofprimus.com.
Yeah.
Where you can also cast your vote for the most wrinkled T-shirt on a live stream in history. And I think that I should get the award. So make sure to go to childrenofprimus.com and cast your vote. Because, I deserve the recognition that I deserve. Give unto Caesar what is due, onto motherfucking Caesar. Those are my closing words. Murder Prime, and I'll see you next week, gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
Peace out.
Yeah.